Hey guys, Christmas here, and in today's video we're
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today,
Why'd I go to the doctor? I remember being so lightheaded I could barely stand. Good thing my crew...
I'm attempting to defeat the Martin bot without any pieces. Wise viewer, you're probably wondering how. That's impossible. Well, with a little bit of magic, I can make my pieces disappear. I'll select blindfold pieces, and now, my board is empty. But don't worry, you guys will still be able to follow along. On the mini board, you can see what I see. And on the big board, you'll be able to see the actual game. And for my eval bar enthusiasts, I'll be adding the eval bar on the side. I will do a game review at the end to see how I did. Alright, I'll start with my usual d4. And my hope is that I'll be able to remember the position based on patterns, right? Because there's no way for me to remember each individual piece, but I can remember, say, the London system setup. So for me, that would be pawn on c3, pawn on d4, pawn on e3, bishop on f4, and instead of remembering each individual piece, I can just say I have the London system set up and I know what I'm talking about. All right, we're met with pawn to f5, so it looks like Martin is playing very aggressive. He's playing a Dutch defense against d4. I'll continue with bishop to f4, my regular setup. That's what I'd play in a normal game anyways. We're met with pawn to d6, which is a variation of the Dutch defense, looking for that e5 push eventually. I'll play e3, continuing with my London setup. And we'll see if Martin actually knows what's happening. No, Martin definitely does not know what's happening. We get pawn to a5. And so far, I know that I have d4, e3, bishop to f4. I haven't quite completed my London system setup. And I know that Martin has begun a variation of the Dutch defense and then, lost his mind a little bit with pawn to a5. So those are the patterns that I have in mind right now. I'll continue with c3, keep it simple, keep it easy to remember. All right, we get knight to h6, which honestly tempts a little bit. Bishop takes h6 just for the sake of messing up his pawn structure. But against somebody as crazy as Martin, I'm going to try to keep my position as simple as possible and wait for something actually meaningful to start capturing. So I'll continue with my regular development, knight to f3, and we'll see what Martin has to say to regular development. All right, we get pawn to c5. This is the only problem with playing blindfold against Martin, is that Martin will play very just crazy moves. I mean, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to what he's playing. We have a5, c5, d6, f5. So, right, we had the start of a Dutch. We had crazy engine move. We had a knight develop to the side that I decided not to capture. And now we have c5. So he's mixing and matching openings like it's a buffet. And it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for me to remember. But again, I can remember patterns easier than I can remember individual moves. So I can remember that this is a crazy engine move that I've seen across a lot of my videos. My longtime viewers will know that I've complained a lot about engine playing side pawn double moves. c5 is like a Sicilian gone wrong too late in the game. d6, f5 is like the start of a funky Dutch defense. And then knight to h6 is a move that I decided to turn down even though it could have doubled his pawns. I have my regular development so far, and I really don't see a reason to deviate from that. So I'll play bishop to d3. Normal development, I'm looking for knight to d2. Castles, keep it normal. We'll see what Martin has to say. Knight to d7, and this is my other thing. I can remember patterns, and I can remember the relationship between pieces relatively easy, at least more easily than I can remember individual pieces. So instead of trying to remember pawn on f5, knight on h6, knight on d7, bishop on c8, I can remember that I have my bishop pointing at the pawn. I have a bishop pointing at the other knight. This knight's job is to defend the pawn. This bishop's job is also to defend the pawn. And this knight on d7 intercepts the bishop. So with all of those relationships in mind, I do have the option to take on h6, allow the recapture, and then pick up the free pawn on f5. I'm just not sure if that's decisive enough for me to take, because I could get into a position where I play, for example, knight g5, queen to h5, and then like a bishop sack after g6. That's a possibility, but it would also complicate the game if he doesn't fall for it, basically. So I'll continue with regular development. I'll play knight to d2. I just want to keep it plain, easy to remember until there's something significant. Okay, we're met with rook to a7, which does diddly squat, but funny enough, will probably be difficult to remember precisely because of that. And I'll go ahead and castle. If we don't get any change on this f5 pawn on this move, I'll probably follow through with bishop takes h6. All right, we get knight to b8, which surprisingly makes decent sense. We're unleashing the bishop, defending the pawn again. And now I'm in a position where I've completed my development. I've castled, and Martin is still sitting, on this kind of funny pawn structure. This a5 pawn, the rook on a7. He hasn't done a very good job developing, but he's done a very good job of creating a semi-complicated position for me to actually take advantage of. It's worth noting that Martin certainly has not castled yet. So I'm assuming it's only good if I move my pieces towards the center and then look for a way to open up the center. So I'll play rook to e1, and I'm looking for e4, hitting that f5 pawn, and then maybe e5 hitting the d6 pawn, just looking to open up the position. We get queen to c7, which doesn't do that much for his position as far as I can tell. So I'll go ahead and continue with e4. I just want to break open the center and see if I can cause some problems for Martin here. c4. Martin says, this is the moment I tell my kids pay attention. I think he says that when he gives away free material. I think I've noticed that pattern, although I'm not 100% sure. It's not guaranteed, but I think that's the case. We get c4, which is not supported by d5. Remember, we had that d6 move at the beginning of the game from the variation of the Dutch defense. So I have two pieces on this pawn, and Martin should only have one piece defending it. So I think I'm totally in the clear to just take it. I have a pawn on e4 covering the d5 square. So I think I can just take it. I'll take it with my knight. It should just be a free pawn. It feels good to capture, no? It sure does. We get b5 by Martin, which is evidently a pawn jumping in to attack the knight. I would love to play knight to e5, but we still have that annoying pawn on d6, so I'll go ahead and just retreat the knight to d2 instead. We'll see what Martin has to say. What should I do? He plays bishop e6. That bishop is definitely undefended, again, because of that d6 and f5, those two pushes that he made. And it's also on the same file as my rook. So let me think about this. I have a bishop on d3. I have a pawn on e4. So I have two attackers on that f5 pawn, and he has two defenders. But I still have that bishop on f4, who could easily take the knight and remove one of those defenders. So I think I'll play that. I'll take the knight on h6. And am I crazy, or is Martin playing like actually pretty decently? I still haven't received a free queen or anything, at least. I'll go ahead and take on f5 now that he only has one defender and he has to move the bishop. Ooh, that's not going to cut it. He plays pawn to d5. I could take with the pawn, or I could activate my rook. And again, easy to remember because I talked about how it's on the same file as the bishop. Again, those relationships are a lot easier to remember than it is to remember, rook on e1, bishop on e6, and just try to store that in your memory. So I'll take on e6 with the rook, now supported by the pawn. Again, trying to remember those relationships. Queen takes c3. Bites right into the London system pawn structure. Again, I don't have to randomly remember that I have a pawn on b2. I can remember that this is part of my pawn structure and take the free queen. All right, we should be closing in on checkmate relatively soon. We get knight to d7. If I'm not mistaken, there's still a bishop on f8 that's looking at these two pawns, which is quite annoying because it does defend e7. Now, I still have my knight on f3, and it's somewhat in the way because I'd like to play queen to h5 check, start getting more pieces into the game. So I think I can just centralize my knight on e5. Yes, I can. I'll play knight to e5, clear the way for the queen, offer a piece trade, which is totally cool because I'm up material. Now I could take with the d pawn, or I could take back with the rook. And frankly, I see no reason not to take with the d-pawn, right? We took the light squared bishop. He doesn't have either of his knights. He traded one, and we traded the other as well. So my rook is totally fine on e6, anchored by that f5 pawn. So I'll take with the d-pawn instead. And I'm closing my eyes in real life because I'm trying to visualize the position, and sometimes it's easier in my head than it is on the board. Okay, we get rook to d7, which, I'm going to be totally honest, I completely forgot that rook was there, which I actually think I called. But it's just such a random move that has so little to do with anything grounded in reality that it was going to be difficult to remember, and I knew that from the beginning. Okay, we get rook to d7. I think I'm totally in the clear to play queen to h5 now. So I'll play queen to h5 check. And we'll see. I think this is the only move. Okay, we do get king to d8, and I should just have this fork now. Oh, I just realized, not only do I have this fork, but this knight is also hitting this rook. This rook is probably more annoying. I can't remember if I have 2 pieces here or just 1. Did I trade this bishop at some point? No, I think this bishop is just sitting here under attack. Okay. In a real game, this is probably better because it wins more material, but I'll go ahead and take on d7. Wait, do I not have a knight on d7? Oh, this is a pawn. I just realized I'm clicking on a pawn here. Okay, all right. We need to ground ourselves here a little bit. The pawn recaptured on e5 right. We traded knights at some point. So I'll go ahead and continue with... I was still going to try to play knight to f7 check. Holy moly, I need to get a grip on reality. All right, let's walk through some relationships. Let's resettle what the position actually is. Queen on h5, rook on e6. We have 2 pawns, bishop and knight. We have pawn and pawn, and then we have 2 rooks, and then our king is on g1 with a couple of pawns in front. Okay, that's our position. Our opponent's position is king on d8, rook on d7, bishop f8, pawn on e7. We have the doubled pawns, the rook in the corner that I was trying to fork, and I don't really remember what's going on over here, but I don't think it matters that much. It should just be pawns. Okay, so we need to defend one of these 2 pieces. I just realized I said I have a rook on e1 after I said I had a rook on e6. There's just a rook on e6. There's no rook on e1. I'll keep this simple. I'll drop the queen back, defend the bishop with my queen. Okay, b4, which should not be a good move for him at all. It's opening up lines where his king is at the moment. So I'll go ahead and capture. We'll see what Martin's idea was with that. d4. Okay, I forgot that he had a pawn on d5, so this rook was never hitting the bishop, I guess. d4 is a pawn that is just sitting there now. I'm going to bring my rook to the open file. Rook to c1. And I'm trying to centralize my pieces so I can look for active play. Okay, apparently there was a pawn on a5 that could take back. I'm trying to focus on my major pieces. Those are going to be my biggest advantage, and then these 2 very advanced pawns. As well as the fact that my king is on the last rank, currently with no escape square. I should probably keep that in mind. All right, I think I can target this rook if I just play bishop to b5. So I'll play bishop to b5, have some scope into the king's position, threaten the rook, which is now on c7, which I believe means I can just trade it. Great. We get a rook trade, which is good when we're super up material. The king recaptures, and we'll play the knight to e4. Centralize the knight. Maybe we can play queen c4 next and mate in a couple of moves. All right, d3 just pushes the pawn in my face, but I'll just take it. That's totally fine. Think carefully, you might have checkmate soon. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate the heads up. All right, queen, knight, bishop, rook. 2 advanced pawns. Martin is absolutely right. I should definitely have checkmate here soon. The question is, what's the fastest way to do it? And can I get ladder's mate? All right, I think the fastest way to do it is place the queen on d7, cuts off the king, and then wherever the king goes, I can play check, and then place the queen on the square in front of the rook. So I'll play my queen back to d7. Okay, rook to g8 is not going to cut it. We'll play check, and then queen to b7 is forced checkmate. All right, nice. We did defeat Martin, even though we had a huge brain fart in the middle of the game. Let's take a moment to enable my pieces again so I can actually see what on earth is going on. Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought the position looked like. All right, let's check out the game review. All right, according to the game review, I played with 85% accuracy. Martin played with 70% accuracy. Martin played pretty darn well. But unfortunately for me, it's further down on the screen. I can't scroll that far down with my OBS setup. But game review says that I played with 1400 strength, which is maybe not the best. Our chart, though, looks pretty good. It looks like we were winning. At some point, I made a mistake, maybe? Knight to f3, right, doesn't punish. Bishop takes h6. Wait, I wonder why it says you missed an opportunity to tactically win a pawn. Okay, bishop takes h6, right. Where's my free... Oh, is it queen to h5, king d7? Cuts off the bishop, and then the queen takes. I'm sure that's what it wanted. Check. King can't castle. Free pawn. All right, that makes decent sense. But besides that, we played a pretty solid game. It looks like we didn't miss anything else besides that. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing drawback chess, where each player gets a random drawback, like lame duck, where you can't move your king, or true gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 5 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, round number 1 we get the black pieces, and our drawback is rising water. Every 10 turns, the water level rises 1 rank. You can't move pieces that are underwater, and you can't move to squares that are also underwater. Okay, so 10 moves means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces to get out from under the water in 9 more turns. I guess we'll just prioritize the pieces that are easier to get out. Rooks, I guess, are as good as gone. Let's pin this knight. We have 7 turns left, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Let's develop the knight, and I guess we can just leave the king and the rook maybe underwater, as long as it's not obvious to our opponent what's happening. Let's trade this off. Let's move queen to d7, and in 4 more turns, we are losing this back rank. So I'm gonna castle long, and then we're just gonna go for like a crazy kingside attack as best we can. Okay, we get rook to e1. Now I can play 1, 2 moves and get the rook out, or I can move, let's see, 1, 2. I mean, there's no way I can save all 3 of these pieces, so I guess it makes more sense to prioritize saving the rook in this situation. Okay, we get a3. Let's save the rook naturally. Let's do it with rook to h7 actually, because I don't want any e4 ideas looking at the rook down that diagonal. 1 turn left before our pieces go underwater on this back rank. And then we should probably just start an attack and see if we can finish this off before the next 10 moves run dry. Okay, we get b4, clearly looking for a counter attack. Let's play g5, and these pieces are now officially underwater. Can't move them, can't move any other pieces back to that rank. We get bishop to d2. Let's play g4. We have 9 turns left before this next rank gets consumed, and I guess that's not really a concern. I'd just end up saving this rook and saving the queen somehow, and that only takes 2 turns. And these 2 will probably end up moved just from the attack that's ongoing. Let's go ahead and take on h3. There's ideas now of check. I can always shuffle the rook somewhere else on this file. Ooh, g3. Opponent is definitely not interested in opening up the king side, which is the right approach. Let's play h4 and try to force the issue. Keeping an eye on the fact that there are 7 turns remaining before the second rank goes submerged. King to h2. Let's play check. Pawn takes back. And now let's centralize this knight on e4. There's only 5 turns left, so I should probably play it safer and play like queen d6 and then maybe like, I don't know, rook to h6 or something sooner rather than later, so I don't end up accidentally submerging my, my whole attack before it even gets started. Okay, rook to g1 defends this pawn. I'm still going to play queen to d6 just to get it off the 7th rank, get it looking at this g3 pawn. Bishop to d3. I guess if this whole back rank is getting submerged anyways, I might as well play f5 now and get this pawn off that 7th rank as well. Okay, takes. I'll go ahead and take back. Keeps the center nice and closed, which is ideal conditions to continue an attack. Unfortunately, I'm continuing this attack with 1, 2, 3 total pieces, so it's not looking too great. I'm genuinely curious what my opponent's drawback is, because they're playing sort of as a intermediate player might try to defend this position. So understanding that the king can sit behind an enemy pawn and it's not really an issue, but also not necessarily, bringing all of their forces immediately to the king side. Now, whether or not that's a result of them still having hope for a queenside attack, I don't know. But I'm genuinely curious what their drawback could possibly be, because there's like a check here, for example, that's kind of natural. And I wouldn't even be able to move the king. I'd have to play e6. Okay, rook to f1 offers a rook trade. There's 1 turn left before this rook gets submerged, so I really don't have a choice but to take. So I'll take here. Queen takes back, and that's 2 layers now completely submerged. Not really sure how I come back from this, but we'll do our best for it. I don't even know. I guess let's play tricky. Let's do this. Maybe we can take on, whoops, bad arrow, take on d4, take the bishop on d2. I mean, it's not very concrete. I basically am down 2 pieces, but there's no way my opponent knows that. So if I can run down their time before they realize what's going on, then maybe there's a chance. Okay, knight comes over, maybe looking for f4. Let's play queen to h5. If knight to f4, then I just move back, and I'm basically forcing my opponent to decide how they're going to follow through on this attack, because they aren't particularly well developed if you look at their pieces. Rook is still in the corner, bishop is behind the wall of pawns. I mean, the knight's looking at a pretty nice outpost here. Nice, that's the natural move. And my opponent doesn't know that this is not defended. So again, we're just kind of playing with our opponent's expectations. c3. Oh, I can't move a6. What am I doing? Let's make a waiting move. Queen g5. Maybe we can drop this pawn. Look for a little check. Whoops, bad arrow again. because our opponent is definitely eating away at their own time quite generously. We also only have 6 turns before these last 2 pieces get submerged. And this knight really has nowhere to go. That's basically an impossibility. Let's move here. Okay, queen g5, just kind of eating away at my opponent's time. Eventually, knight to e5 will be necessary. I mean, there's only 4 turns left. We might as well play it now. Okay, rook to h2 is very interesting. Let's play this, hit the rook and the bishop. I quite like what I'm seeing so far. Nice, we'll take the bishop, hit the queen. Rook to h5, what is happening? Queen g4, I'm going to ignore that and keep this attack. We've lost the 6th rank now as well. 4 seconds left for our opponent. Queen to e2, no thanks. I'm not interested in a trade. I'm going to continue this attack that seems to be going suspiciously well. Let's take on g3 as well. There's the threat of mate. 1 second for our opponent. Check. There's no way to escape that. And we do take the king to win game number 1. That was absolutely insane. Well, let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was punching down. Your pieces can't capture pieces worth more than them. And anything captures a king. Wow, that's insane. Actually, that explains why our opponent maybe defended so well. Is because we could have literally just sacked the queen with like a Greek gift, and our opponent wouldn't have had an escape. So that's kind of crazy. But we did have a significantly harder drawback than our opponent because we lost many pieces from the get-go. And then after move 20, we had even more pieces that were just gone off the board. But we did manage to pull through. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we get the black pieces again, and our drawback is edgelord. Must have at least as many pieces on the rim as your opponent. Okay, this basically calls for like a random knight to a6 and then play the opening as normal, I think. All right, we get pawn to d4. Let's play d5. I mean, as long as we keep it symmetrical, there's no way we'll have less pieces on the rim. Pawn to e3. And actually, maybe I should be careful because like if my opponent randomly plays some crazy move, then maybe it could cost me the game. So let's play here. My opponent can take. I'll take back. I'll have doubled pawns, but they'll be on the rim, so it will be worth it. Knight to f6. Rest of this, I think I can just play normal. Oh, I've forgotten that this is part of the rim. Oh, interesting. Okay, we'll take with the knight in that case. Does my opponent developing a piece here immediately lose me the game, or do I have to just move back somehow? Because I've just realized this was completely redundant. This did nothing. This just went from rim to rim. And if you want to understand your opening better than I understand my drawbacks, I highly recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers super easy step-by-step opening practice. This is me learning the Jobava London, and this is me crushing an opponent with the same opening, so yeah, it works. For just $3 a month, you get access to 21 openings with hundreds of lines, and they drop a brand new opening every week. Plus, you can practice in fun ways like time trial mode, where you race to see how quickly you can remember your openings, and drill mode to focus on drilling your opening preparation. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. Okay, our opponent is running down their time. I think they are due for a welfare check because they've been gone for 2 minutes, and there's no sign of them intending to move. All right, in what seems to be an active rage quit, our opponent times out the game for us to win game number 2. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, in what is probably a personal record for the fastest drawback game that I've ever won, in 4 moves, we apparently defeated our opponent with a significantly harder drawback, but our opponent's drawback was sibling rivalry. You cannot move a piece to a square adjacent to an opponent's piece of the same type. Okay, that didn't even come into play, so our opponent just disappeared. Let's go ahead and move on to round number 3. All right, round number 3, we finally get the white pieces. Let's play d4, and our drawback is cowardly. When your opponent captures, you must move backwards or lose. Wow, that is so perfectly inverse to my playstyle, I can't even believe it. Also, our opponent's name is you share your drawback, I share mine. Unfortunately, I don't really have any interest in that. Let's go ahead and just take on e5.
At Empire Mazda of Greenbrook, everybody drives. Whether you're looking to purchase a new or used Mazda, need top-notch service, or want to trade in your vehicle, Empire Mazda is the best place to go. Right now, lease a new 2025 Mazda CX-5 for just $229 a month. We offer a wide selection of vehicles, expert technicians, and top dollar for your trade-in. At Empire Mazda of Greenbrook, we have a deal for every buyer. Visit us today.
Uncomplicate life with Tidy Cat Sprees. Trap odors, eliminate the mess, and enjoy living life unlittered.
I mean, I guess I don't want to capture, since surely our opponent is going to try to capture on... What? Queen to h4. There's no way. Okay, so the issue here is if my opponent takes, There's literally no piece that can move backwards, so that, I guess, instantly forfeits the game, or maybe it'll allow me to play something else, but I lose the king anyways. So I'm not really sure what to do here. G3, I guess? I mean, my opponent can just take, because I have to move backwards anyways. So this whole drawback is a huge bluff. Okay, we get queen to e4. Let's play knight to f3, defending the pawn. Again, not actually defending the pawn, because if my opponent takes, I have to move backwards. But in our opponent's mind, it should be concrete. It should at least seem concrete. We get queen to b4. Let's just play knight c3. Genuinely curious what my opponent's drawback is that would cause them to play queen to h4, queen to e4, queen to b4. Or maybe they just know like one opening and don't know how to play it if people play it differently than what they expected. Okay, bishop to c5. Again, threatening this is just quite uncomfortable. So I'm just going to play e3, not because it might actually happen. Well, I mean, I wouldn't put it beyond an opponent that plays this for their first 3 moves to sack a bishop on f2. I just wouldn't put it beyond them. So I'm going to play e3 just to protect myself against that possibility. And I'm probably looking for like bishop d3. So there's always a backwards turn. Yeah, see what I mean? Bishop to d4. I have no idea what's going on here. I'm just going to take it. Again, my opponent could just take. I would have no choice but to just move backwards. Yeah, wow, queen to d4, and I have to move back. There's only a couple of pieces that can do that. And I guess knight to d2 makes the most sense, because if my opponent takes the queen on d1, then it's pretty much game over. Let's see if our opponent is looking for queen takes f2, which would pretty much immediately end the game. I mean, I'd play like knight to e2 and then lose the king. Queen to e4, just allows me to take, unfortunately. So it seems to be that's the end of that attack. And as long as I can proactively be the one capturing, like for example here, I'm the one taking the piece, then obviously my drawback doesn't come into play and I don't have to play backwards. Obviously on the recapture I will, but it's not as bad. Okay, pawn takes back. Hold on a second. Oh, pawn takes back means I have to move backwards. Okay. Sure, why not? Let's play knight to b1, but I want to play queen to h5 and I want to get an attack going on this very, very weakened king. Pawn to f5, check. I mean, king to any of these dark squares, there's bishop check as well. Just keeps bringing the king further out. Ooh, king to f7, we're just going to take and win game number 3. Okay, that was pretty good. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Genuinely curious how we explain our opponent's moves. You won, you took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was forward march. Can't move backwards. Ooh. Okay, so unfortunately, our opponent took the kamikaze way out. They probably could have played a very passive opening and then just slowly worked their way further into the position, and eventually probably figured out that we have struggles when they capture. But instead, they decided to just throw all their pieces at us. So we did take the victory on game number 3, even though we had possibly the hardest relative drawback that we've ever had on this channel. I might have to clip this for the thumbnail. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to game number 4. All right, game number 4, we get the black pieces. Our drawback is remorseful. You can't capture twice in a row. I've never been remorseful about captures. What is this? Okay, let's play knight to f6, just keep it symmetrical. If I can't capture twice in a row, that just means that attacks might be a little bit difficult. Besides that, I mean, maybe if there's a point where there's a lot of pieces attacking at the same time, I won't be able to recapture as I might like to. Again, besides those two sort of edge cases, I think this should be fine. Play c6 to cover b5. Actually, now I'm thinking of even more scenarios, like in an endgame where you might want to capture pawns back to back to back while your opponent does the same. I wouldn't be able to. I'd just capture one, and then that'd be the end of the route for me. Let's play e6. Okay, maybe this was a little bit more involved than I originally imagined. Okay, pawn to h3. Let's play bishop d6. To quote myself, this is a little bit more amusing than I imagined in the first place. So like, for example, right now, my opponent could take, I would take back, and then they could capture anything and I wouldn't be able to take it. Opponent plays bishop to d3. Okay, again, if I play bishop g6 and I keep this sort of tension on the board, it's difficult because if my opponent ever decides to trade off, then I immediately lose a piece. So I'm just going to take on d3 instead. Opponent will almost definitely capture, and I'm just going to take that turn to castle out of the way and reset my can't capture drawback. Okay, bishop to h2, I'm going to take that as well. If I can start working my way towards an endgame, I think I might be okay. Knight takes back. I can't believe I've gone from this isn't so bad to I might be okay. We get short castles. Let's play c5, challenge the center at least a little bit, within reason. Okay, rook to e1. I could just take. I could also play c5. I like c5. Grab some queenside space. Obviously, my opponent's going to look for e5 at some point, or rather e4 at some point, but that will make the game more interesting. Let's play a6, looking for b5. If e4 takes, my opponent takes back. I obviously can't take back again, so like b5 maybe. Or our opponent allows that anyways. Ooh, queen to c1. Okay, this is starting to stink of drawback. Let's play queen to b8 to support this pawn and then look for a5, so we just don't drop it to the knight. Knight to f1. This smells so bad of drawback. Oh, it's the reset drawback, 100%. I can't believe we're finally at the point that we can start predicting our opponent's drawbacks. Wow, it's a shame that I didn't see that coming earlier. Our opponent did it very, very naturally, to be honest. This was a little bit weird. But besides that, knight to f1 makes sense as a reroute of the knight. Probably not optimally, but very, very well done by my opponent. They've probably already completed their drawback, so there's probably nothing else for them to deal with. So no opportunity for me to play like check or anything. But let's continue the attack. Very, very well done. I'm happy that we guessed it, I guess. It's not so much that we guessed it, but rather identified it once it was already on the board. But that was kind of cool. Let's play h6. e4 is now a very natural move. We'll see how good our opponent is now. We get c3. Let's push b3. Maybe they'll just close it. Maybe they'll take. Oh, they do take. Interesting. I'll take back with the pawn. There is now a 2 versus 1 situation here. So eventually this might be a passed pawn that we're looking at. We get e4. Let's take. Oh, we can't capture because we just captured here. Ooh. So we might have to allow them to take some space. Okay, let's push a4. If we can't take back, we might as well create some threats on the side of the board. Wow, that's not even a move. There's a threat. We get pawn to e5, booting the knight. Probably looking for a kingside attack since this is a defending piece. I could play back. I could play knight to e4 and purposely lose the pawn. a3, pawn takes. This pawn doesn't go anywhere. Okay, let's play knight to h7. We're also significantly down on time because we spent so much time gushing about the fact that we identified their drawback and how well our opponent actually pulled that off. We get knight to e3. Let's go for this. Try to find this trade on the board. Otherwise, my opponent's looking for these crazy sacrifices, and I already have enough problems with capturing back as it is. So I'm really not particularly interested in that. Okay, let's play this. Pre-move the recapture. The c4 pawn can serve as a base for the b3 pawn. So now we can push a3 perfectly fine. I'll even pre-move the recapture. Nice. And now this pawn is a little bit, I was going to say this pawn is a little more defended, but I totally forgot that this was dropping. Okay, b2. No choice but to full commit. Okay, rook to e2. Let's play this. Hit the queen. Whoops, terrible arrow. Hit the queen. Hit the pawn behind it. With any luck, maybe we get like this. Takes. Pawn takes back. Check. Trying to force the rook to move. Rook to e1. Rook here. Okay, that's a little too crazy. Well, maybe we get that, but I think that's still better for us just because we can connect the rooks on the back rank. But we'll see if we even get that position. Ooh, rook takes b2 right away. What's the issue? I can't sack because this is check. Wow, that's pretty concrete. And I can't take here. Well, I guess I could. Takes, knight to f8. It's not great. Let's do that. It's not great, but it's probably survivable. We're still looking at these weaknesses. And we're relatively even on time with our opponents. So this might be fine. Okay, rook to d8, looking to double up and win the knight. Is there anything I can actually do about that? I don't think so. Yeah, no, we're gonna have to just forfeit that. So let's take with this rook. Maybe we can grab the second rank. Yep, that knight is all yours. Very well deserved. Opponent takes. Okay, I guess we have to actually defend this. I mean, here the very natural knight to e4, knight d6 is probably completely crushing. But just because we're under a minute, I am gonna give it a try and see if I can bullet out a sort of comeback here. Is it likely? No, it is definitely not likely. Is it possible? I would argue it's possible. I mean, again, I already said it's not likely, so that's off the table. I just said it's possible. Can't even capture that. Okay, let's do this. Yep, and with that, we lose game number 4. All right, let's go ahead and pop up the info board. I'll be honest, I sort of kamikazed at the end because it just wasn't going to happen. Okay, you lost. You took your opponent took your king, rather. Your opponent's drawback was, we already guessed it, Fisher random. On or before move 20, all your remaining non-pawn pieces must be on your home row on a square that it could not have started on. Yep, we actually have gotten that drawback before, so it was kind of cool that we got to identify it, even though we did lose the game. Let's go to move on to game number 5. All right, game number 5, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is far-sighted. Your pieces can't capture pieces that are adjacent to them. Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't feel like I end up in too many positions where that's actually an issue. Okay, we get pawn to d4, let's play d5. I guess with pawns is the only time that would really come into play. I feel like pawns are the big one that I tend to overlook. Let's play knight to f6. Knight to f3, sure. We'll probably go for like a London setup against this. Maybe even just bishop f5 here is fine. Our opponent's going with a little Dutch defense sort of thing. Or rather, I guess with the white, it's called the stone wall. Wait, is it? What's it called with the white pieces? I can't remember. Anyways, get bishop d3, we'll drop the bishop back. Totally fine with trading anything for this bishop. The knight, the other bishop, everything here is fine. Oh, actually, wait. Oh, wait, your pieces can't capture pieces that are adjacent to them. So if they take, I can't take back. Whoops, let's go to take on d3. Wasted a tempo there, but worth it for the lesson. Okay, pawn to c3, let's play knight to d7. Knight to d2, let's play bishop to e7. No point in bishop d6 when I can't even take the knight. And we're almost definitely not looking for short castles here because that just kind of walks into our opponent's attack with the rook lift and everything going on the king side. So let's play queen to c7, and we're probably looking for long castles. We just have to be careful if knight takes f7. We get knight to f3 next. Interesting. Let's take. And then play knight to e4. Nice, knight to e4. There's the idea of booting the knight now. It's interesting because this idea of pawn to f4 is actually a pretty common one, which is weird to say as a London player, but it is a pretty common London idea if you always go for that knight to e5 idea, and you ever drop the bishop back, you play f4, maybe bishop to h4, pinning the knight, etc. in the London position, of course. It's a pretty common one, so I'm relatively familiar. I'm not an expert by any means, but I'm relatively familiar with what the most uncomfortable counterplays are, and usually the most uncomfortable one is d6 straight away, but the next best thing is f6, just booting the knight, and suddenly the crux of your position has to retreat. We get pawn to b4. Let's play, does g5 here work? Takes. Yeah, let's play g5 right away and then line up the rook. There's no point in waiting too much and over setting it up when we can just go straight for the attack. I mean, our opponent's going to try to go for the same idea, but the truth is our opponent's position is made for a kingside attack. You have this really strong center, pieces on this side of the board. Finally, our opponent decides to actually come back, probably trying to target f7 here. I can't play f6 right now because of knight f7. If I play rook to f8, there's takes. I'm dropping f7, even though I can take back. You know what? Let's play rook to g8 and just lose the pawn. As long as my opponent is engaging on the king side and we're continuing to make progress on the king side of the board in terms of the attack, and my opponent ignores their queen side attack, which they're not, I'm in a good spot. So let's take here on, I can't take because it's adjacent. Ooh, okay. Okay, let's threaten the knight with our fist that we can't take. Knight to f7. Do we just trap the knight here? Let's play this. Oh no, knight to h6 is possible. Right, let's play rook g6, maybe rook g7, hold on. Yeah, I guess rook g7, because I guess I want to stay as far away as possible from other pieces. We get pawn to a5, I still can't take this, so let's push g4. I'll just play this like somebody that doesn't know how to wage war on the king side. We get a6, immediately we're going to block that off. Obviously, I don't want to open up a file for my opponent and get, destroyed on the queen side. So let's try to keep our own attack going. Interesting thing is, it's going to be hard to get a pawn break here if our opponent has no incentive to take. If anything, I might have to go for like g3, h3, which is probably what our opponent will play to close up the king side. And then like knight to f2, the queen will move and then just sack the knight. Okay, we get pawn to c4. If my opponent takes, I can't take back. So this is already an issue. Let's just play g3. I mean, h3 is almost certain here, but... Okay, we do get h3. Let's play knight to f2. I mean, if we're already getting crushed in the center and then our king is going to get opened up in just a second, pretty much have to full commit this attack. Let's take on h3. Nice. Pawn takes back. Let's play e5. I mean, none of these pawns are worth anything to me since capturing them, I can never take back. Nor can I take out of it either. So let's just try to open up some lines for our pieces and hope for the best, I guess. Okay, knight to f5 is an interesting move here. What happens if queen here? Knight takes, queen takes. Traditionally, this would be mate, and maybe we can get our opponent to resign, but concretely, we can't actually take it. Okay, let's move the rook back. My opponent takes, so I just take back with the queen. I mean, I'd love to intimidate my opponent into resigning, but it's a little bit of a bluff that I'm not willing to take right now. I mean, I might eventually. Ooh, c5. b5 closes the position. That is very nice for me. Not to mention, I've yet to catch a whiff of what my opponent's drawback could possibly be. We're kind of forcing this trade. Oh, forcing this trade and I can't take back. Ooh, please don't take it. If my opponent takes it, I have to move the king. Yep. I have to lose the rook. I have to take here and I have to pray that my opponent resigns. Holy smokes. I just made this so much harder for myself with queen d7. Ooh, our opponent's thinking they might not even take. Ooh, king g2. I still can't take. Let's play rook g7, threaten the knight, which should be trapped. I mean, again, there's this capture, which is a pretty natural one, and I still can't take back. Because the reasoning there is I'm losing the knight, I might as well take a pawn on the way and weaken these the structure in front of the king. But our opponent's thinking again, not to mention they're down to 26 seconds. Okay, they do take, we'll just shuffle out of the way. Okay, now we can take back with the queen. 9 seconds, we're 10 now for our opponent. Let's close the center because I have no interest in allowing our opponent to penetrate our position. c6 here is quite critical. Let's play this. We're looking for this kind of maybe silly idea, but we want to target h3, and maybe we can get our opponent to flag here, which would be ideal. Yeah, doubling the rooks here unfortunately doesn't do much. f5 is definitely concrete. Let's play this, looking for queen to h5 still. Queen d2 does defend that. Our opponent definitely understands what's happening in the position. They're just really low on time. Ooh, queen takes on b5. Ugh, not the best thing I've ever seen for my position. Queen c6 here is a threat. Let's play rook to c8. Queen b7 here is almost definitely winning. Queen b6. Let's just start sacrificing stuff. I mean, our opponent's pretty low on time as it is. Oh, wow, and our opponent flagged off rook to h3. That's absolutely insane. So that was game number 5, which now has us at 4 out of 5 points that we want to get. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, what on earth happened to our opponent? I think they just might have crumbled under time pressure. We won on time. Your opponent's drawback was closed book. You lose if you ever start your turn while there's an open file. Oh, wow. That's so interesting because I thought they were playing very well to defend the king side attack by trying not to open any files, which is what you should do. But on the queen side, which is where they were waging war, they were also closing files, which I guess probably should have been a really obvious symptom of this drawback, which I actually have gotten before. But anyways, with that, we win game number 5, which now has us at 4 wins out of 5 games. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 6. All right, round number 6. We get the black pieces, and our drawback is scouting ahead. As long as you have a pawn, you cannot move non-pawns ahead of your most advanced pawn. Okay, so that means we want to push our pawns as far as we can, at least if we're going for an attack. So let's play a Dutch defense. E6. Oh, funny. Another one of these. Our opponent's name is You Reveal, I Reveal. Okay, knight to f3. This is just normal Dutch. We'll play this. And the idea of the Dutch is to have a sort of advanced kingside, which gives you a lot of attacking opportunities very quickly once your opponent castles kingside. And the reason I'm interested in that is because like h6 g5 pushes these pawns super far ahead, which is perfectly in line with our drawback, which is that our pawn basically has to scout ahead and we can't move any pieces past the furthest pawn. So let's play bishop d6 here. Continue with this.
Have you heard about Wonder? It's not just another food app, it's an innovative dining experience that's completely changing how we do dinner. With Wonder, you can browse a huge selection of restaurants, including local favorites and exclusive options you won't find anywhere else. I recently tried Wonder in Westfield, New Jersey, and it's been a game changer for my family. Everyone gets exactly what they're craving: burgers, pasta, tacos, you name it, all in one order. The meals arrive perfectly cooked and ready to enjoy, making dinner stress-free. You should definitely check it out.
AT&T's been carrying America's calls since 1876. When you've been around that long, you can spot a hustle coming from a mile away. T-Mobile is the master of breaking promises. While T-Mobile stays caught up in untruths, AT&T keeps building what matters, America's most reliable network. Right, Graham? When you compare, there's no comparison. Plain talk, strong signal, nothing better.
Dutch defense setup. Wow, knight to e5 is quite a thorn in my side. Let's play queen to e7. Can't play knight to d7 there because then it cuts off the defense of the bishop by the queen. There's ideas of sacrificing and then winning the bishop. So queen to e7 is mandatory to maintain defense of the bishop before playing knight to d7. Sweet. Still looking for knight to e4, kind of hoping my opponent will castle soon so I can actually play that. Oh, we get captures. Okay, I'll take with the bishop. Okay, I'll take again. That's fine. I mean, it's a lot of trades, but it's not bad, I guess. Queen to b3. If I castle long, my opponent might castle long as well, and then the attack has to go on the queen side. Let's play rook to b8. We'll defend it this way, and if my opponent castles short, I'll just leave my king in the center and start pushing pawns. And then basically, unless my opponent can somehow break through the center, there's no way for them to target my king. Okay, looking for knight to e5, obviously. Whoops, knight to e5. Okay, fine, I'll concede. We'll castle kingside. It's not really how I wanted to play this, but our opponent is doing a better job of outlasting us. And you know what? We're going to go for it anyways. The queen is on the wrong side of the board, so they're going to have to stop my attack. Okay, bishop to e2. Let's reroute the bishop. Knight to e5. Let us move the king over. Yeah, and we're looking for rook to g8, line the rook up on this file, and that's really interesting, because I actually can never capture this king unless it's at least as far forward as one of my pawns. So either the opponent resigns because they think they're losing, or, more likely if you have a name as experienced as You Reveal, I Reveal, more likely I just have to be so winning that I end up in an endgame where I can just push a pawn really far forward, or trade off all of these pawns somehow. Okay, knight back to d3, let's push g4. My opponent takes, I do have to take back with the pawn. My opponent doesn't take and plays h4. Let's see, g3, f3 closes everything. So let's play knight to e4. There is the idea of sacrificing here. Actually, no, because I can't move further than my furthest pawn. Ugh, this is pretty bad, actually. I mean, it's not losing at all, but it's not how I wanted this to go. We are threatening knight to d2. I mean, we can't play it, but okay, our opponent doesn't even see that, so it doesn't matter. We get knight to f4. Let's play queen back. Looking to take on h4. G3 here is probably best. Just closes everything up. Right, let's play queen to f6, looking for e5. Okay, our opponent still doesn't see this, so either they know that we can't move past our furthest pawn, or they just didn't see this threat. Let's see. Let's play h5, and then maybe there's ideas of like knight to g5, playing for sacrifice, and then looking for h4. Not to mention our opponent has 55 seconds left, so if we can just confuse them into thinking that they're worse, then this could be winning anyways. Right, because they either resign or they end up taking so much time trying to figure out how they're going to get out of this attack that they end up flagging. Ooh, king to g2 is promising. Let's play h4, looking for h3. I'm totally fine with king g7, king f8, should my opponent sacrifice on h3. Let's go ahead and pre-move the recapture as well. Ooh, king to h2. We're getting closer with these pawns. Not as close as I'd like, but closer. Opponent's down to 36 seconds. Queen to b3, we can just wait around. Sure, we'll defend. Queen to a3, probably looking to penetrate the position, which is fair. Do I actually defend this in any way? Let's play b4 so our opponent just takes with the pawn and then just can't come in. Okay, pawn takes back. Let's do this. Okay, opponent is now down to 20 seconds. Just not a lot of time. Not to mention we've planted this pawn on h3, so we're basically free to play on this whole part of the board because our most advanced pawn is on the 3rd rank, which is pretty darn good. Get bishop there, threatening the pawn. Okay, it's not super concrete, but I can see what they're getting at. Let's just defend it. There's no point in overthinking it. They have 10 seconds left anyways. They get 2 seconds back for every move that they make, so they better make some pretty good moves here. Okay, we'll just wait around. Okay, rerouting the knight is interesting. I don't think it creates any threats. Let's play this. Bring the rook over. I mean, our opponent's going to have a lot of pressure on them for the next couple of moves. Rook to c1. I can probably just play some crazy move here and win, but let's play at least sort of concrete. Nice. And our opponent does flag for us to win game number 6. That does give us our 5th victory of this video. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you won because your opponent ran out of time, which is, technically one way to win. Our opponent's drawback was separation of church and state. You can't move your bishops next to a king, and you can't move your king next to a bishop. Okay, yeah, I would definitely argue that our drawback is much more difficult than that because bishops you can just develop and trade off anyways. But anyways, with that, we do win our 5th game. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what you thought of the drawbacks. Are you guys able to predict all of these drawbacks? Like, I think I predicted correctly 2 or 1. I can't remember. I think I predicted correctly 2 last episode though. So let me know what you guys think. Are these easy to predict for you guys? And what kind of symptoms you guys look out for? Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing drawback chess, where each player is assigned a random drawback, like lame duck, where you can't move your king, or true gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 3 games, but I will be enabling hard drawbacks, so I only get harder drawbacks. Let's get started with game number 1. All right, that's a little bit of a lie. First thing we have to do is enable harder drawbacks. I don't exactly remember how to do that. Oh, that's not it. But for anybody wondering what my rating is, it's 1945. That's my drawback rating. Is it here? Yes, it is right up here. I prefer harder drawbacks. Give me whatever. I prefer easy drawbacks. So obviously I'm going to select I prefer harder drawbacks. And now let's dive into game number 1. All right, game number 1, we get the black pieces and we're paired against you reveal, I reveal. Our drawback is whites of their eyes. Your capturing moves must be of distance 2 or less. Which is super in contrary to how I normally play chess, because I'm generally an attacking player, at least when it's reasonable. I'm not going to go out of my way to play a crazy attack. And it also means that in an end game, rooks can't defend at distance, bishops can't defend at distance, same for queens. We get d4, let's play d5, and I'm kind of hoping for a closed position. Nice, we do get e5. We'll play e6, c5, and we've got this sort of Caro-Kann setup. Wait, did it just take back my move? Oh, it decided to put it back again. Hello? The troll is here, moving my small-minded pawns around. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's my opponent's turn now. There we go, we do get knight to c3, which is typically not how you defend that d4 pawn because it doesn't allow white to play c3 and defend their pawn structure with another pawn. But this may have to do with their drawback potentially, or it's just what they prefer to play. Oh, and of course I can't take back. Okay, we'll play knight to c6 instead, target e5. Does that mean I can't take on e5? Or I think that counts as 2 squares away. Right, we get knight to f3. Well, we'll play knight to e7. This isn't really the end of the world. It's still sort of a weak center for the opponent. So although I can't immediately take it, it's not going to be the end of my position. We're going to target the bishop. Bishop does take, we'll take back with our own, and actually now I can take the pawn. Opponent can't play b4 because we've got that knight posted up, but now it's pinned. So we'll go ahead and castle the king out of the way. We're looking to take on c5 in a moment. They take, and they're probably looking to play b4. They're playing a pretty normal game, to be honest. Okay, they allow us to, wait, your capturing moves must be of distance 2 or less. And this is not 1, 2? I'm honestly kind of confused. Let's play queen to a5 and see if that counts as 2. Your capturing moves must be of distance. Oh, distance is calculated by adding the horrors. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, so this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So bishops are terrible, which is really bad because I have 2 of them now. Usually I prefer to play with my bishops. That is rough. Wow, so rooks are really going to come in handy here because they're going to have to do all the heavy lifting in terms of taking 2 squares away. Bishops basically can only take like this because 1, 2 squares would be 1 and 2 by this method of calculating distance, which is not ideal. But we are now threatening the pawn on c5 with the queen, which, while minor, is a redeeming attack. Opponent now down to 1 minute and 6, 5, 4, and they resign. Okay, we're not going to count that one because I'm not really sure why they resigned, unless it has something to do with their drawback. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won, quote unquote. Your opponent resigned, more accurate. Your opponent's drawback was crossing the Rubicon. Once one of your pieces crosses into your opponent's side of the board, it can't return back to yours. So on the bright side, we did get an extremely difficult drawback, which is pretty much what we signed up for, but we got paired with an opponent that disappeared in the middle of the match. But I won't count that as game number 1 since it wasn't really a real victory. Let's go to move on to...
If you're an IT or security professional, you've likely heard about secure enterprise browsers. And surprised, you may already have one at your fingertips. But first, why is the browser so important? Well, it's the most used app on the PC. And it's more relevant than ever. That's because it's one door to everything these days: the web, work, and AI. So the stakes are high. Keeping browsers up to date is crucial. But now you also need to guard against data leaks and unauthorized AI usage. This is why you need a secure enterprise browser to access work data safely and regulate AI use. The challenge is balancing the need to tighten security, boost productivity, and keep costs low. Plus, there's a wrinkle: no budget for browsers. Hi, I'm Arunesh Chandra. I'm on the Edge for Business team, and our mission is to make the best browser for business that meets your goals of security, productivity, and low cost. Edge for Business is the secure enterprise browser optimized for AI for any device, anywhere. It offers the perfect blend of protection and productivity because it integrates with Microsoft 365 and your other security investments. And it's a seamless experience for admins and for your workforce. That's everyone from full-time employees to contractors to employees from new acquisitions. What's more, there's no extra cost because you extend the value of your existing Microsoft investments into Edge for Business. Let's dive into each of these 3 advantages. Enterprise-grade security is your top priority. It is for us too. We have over 30,000 security professionals globally dedicated to protecting users and data. And we are recognized as a leader in security, compliance, identity, and endpoint management. We bring this breadth and depth of the enterprise-grade security into the browser. Edge for Business is integrated with Entra, Purview, Defender for Endpoint, and Intune. A simple sign-in with Entra ID unlocks this advanced security. And if you use other security tools, we also support you through our connector framework. The second advantage, Edge for Business is seamless. You love that there's no deployment required or rollout headaches because it's inbox in Windows. The management is intuitive with familiar Microsoft tools, so your team can hit the ground running. We all know that best security is the security that people actually use. From employees to contractors, you don't have to fight for adoption. People know and trust Edge as the browser from Microsoft. Since users don't have to learn a new tool, they're productive from the start. And they love the built-in Microsoft 365 features, such as Work Search and Copilot Chat. And the best part? When you invest in Microsoft security, you already have an enterprise browser. There's no need to pay twice or fill out procurement forms. Plus, if you have an existing support contract with Microsoft, you can tap into that as well. Now let's see Edge for Business in action. Here's Jillian to take you through the technology in depth.
Thanks, Aranesh. We design enterprise security controls to meet your needs along 5 important dimensions. Strong authentication to meet zero trust principles. Data security to protect your company's sensitive information. Controls for AI to accelerate productivity and keep your organization protected. Comprehensive alerts and reporting to help you prioritize critical actions. And threat protection to mitigate and address cyber threats. With Edge for Business, these controls are built to extend security to any device, anywhere. Now let's go through several common scenarios and see how these dimensions come to life. First, let's explore how Microsoft Purview helps secure your documents directly in the browser. You've probably put data protections in place for your endpoints. But what about your browser? With so much work being done in the browser today, it's become a critical endpoint. This is crucial because employees often work online with sensitive Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. So you need data protections that work seamlessly across platforms, whether users are in the browser or on the desktop. This is where Edge for Business stands alone. It's the only browser that integrates usage rights restrictions from Microsoft Purview's sensitivity labels. You simply enable these protections, and Edge for Business enforces the file's existing label. For example, when a user tries to capture a screenshot from a protected spreadsheet, the action is blocked. And actions you've restricted, like copy-paste or printing, are also enforced in the browser, the same as in the desktop app. With Edge for Business, data protection doesn't stop at the desktop, ensuring sensitive information stays secure across every platform. Now let's see how Microsoft Purview puts you in control of unmanaged AI apps. As the power of AI has become accessible to everyone, the use of AI tools at work has skyrocketed. Our research shows 75% of professionals already use AI at work, including the use of unsanctioned apps. Employees may be entering sensitive data into tools like DeepSeek, Gemini, and ChatGPT, often without realizing the security implications. In response, you may have completely blocked unauthorized AI tools. But then you lose out on productivity and increase user dissatisfaction. Edge for Business and Microsoft Purview have partnered to evolve beyond this generic management model. The result? You gain nuanced, granular control, while enabling employees to safely harness the power of AI. This is next-generation AI safety built directly into the browser. And it's only possible in Edge for Business, the one browser with native integration with Microsoft Purview, Let's take a look. Here, your employee wants to use an unauthorized generative AI website, such as DeepSeek. The user is typing a prompt that includes a reference to an acquisition, information that matches your data loss prevention policy. When the user hits submit, the prompt is blocked. There's a clear explanation why, and the data never leaves the browser. These same protections apply across all Edge profiles on a managed device, ensuring users can't bypass policy enforcement by switching profiles. With Purview integrated with Edge for Business, you have content-based protection, but that's not all. Adaptive protection dynamically adjusts enforcement based on user risk and data sensitivity. For example, users with elevated risk, such as those working on sensitive projects, are blocked from entering prompts into unsanctioned AI apps. Blocking is essential, but visibility into how AI is used is just as important. Collection policies can detect sensitive information in prompts, and all outcomes are visible in Purview's Data Security Posture Management for AI within the Purview portal. You'll have clear visibility into usage and enforcement. With Purview integrated into Edge for Business, you can now balance productivity with responsible AI usage. Up next, how Entra Conditional Access supports secure browser access from personal devices. With today's workforce, BYOD is common, so you need to provide safe access to work data, even on personal devices. Edge for Business is here to help. You're likely already using a zero-trust security model with foundational requirements to verify explicitly and apply least privilege access. Edge for Business is designed from the ground up as a zero-trust browser with Microsoft Entra Conditional Access deeply woven in as a policy engine. Verification and authentication are real-time and robust, using a comprehensive set of signals. To highlight just a few, there's geolocation, user sign-in data, and device health status that's based on a direct read of Defender for Endpoint's health scan on Windows. This multifaceted approach ensures that users access resources from endpoints that are secure, healthy, and up-to-date. In this scenario, we see a remote worker on an unmanaged device trying to access Outlook Web from a personal Edge profile. Access is initially blocked, but the experience remains seamless. Users are guided to the site in their work profile. Then conditional access combines signals, including real-time risk, to enforce access policies in Edge for Business. And of course, one of those checks will make sure the browser version is the most up-to-date, with all the latest security patches, before someone can access work resources. The same policy can apply to other browsers. So no matter where users try to access a work-related site, they will be redirected to Edge for Business. With conditional access, your workforce has a safe foundation from which to be productive, wherever work happens. Next, let's explore how data security controls can help protect against data exfiltration on BYOD devices. From our research, over 80% of security leaders surveyed say the potential for sensitive data leakage is their #1 concern. So it's ideal to apply the power of data security as broadly as possible, like with daily work apps on unmanaged devices. And with Microsoft Entra and Purview, now you can. When your users are signed into a web app with their Entra ID, Edge for Business extends the trusted protections that you've already configured. It's a seamless way to protect your organization's most used web apps, even in a BYOD world. In addition, real-time content sensitivity evaluation, powered by Purview DLP, is natively integrated into Edge for Business. With this, you can audit or block employees from downloading a sensitive file from a corporate site to a personal device. With Purview and Edge for Business, leaks to personal devices, whether intentional or accidental, are becoming a thing of the past. And finally, let's see how real-time monitoring insights help defend your organization against evolving cyber threats. Today's cybersecurity landscape sees new threats rise and fall within hours. Not all browsers can handle these emerging threats equally. Edge for Business is a Chromium-based browser that stands apart. It's backed by Microsoft's global infrastructure and resources. We update our Chromium codebase 24/7, 365, and we issue patches ASAP. In addition, we equip you with insights to act quickly. In the face of a threat, you're seeking visibility, asking, are we exposed? And how fast are we closing the gap? That's why we built the monitoring dashboard in the Edge Management Service. With this dashboard, you gain real-time insights into update status across all managed devices, organized by version, channel, and update age. It's also designed for action. Updates can be accelerated through policy or by nudging users to restart. With Edge for Business, you can be confident that you're staying current in an evolving world. Historically, enterprise security controls in the browser have been overlooked, but not by us. Since the start of modern Edge, we've been the browser for business. And the truth is, it doesn't have to be complicated. With these demos, you see how security for the browser can be elegantly integrated for you and your workforce. Hey, Aranesh, I think they're ready to get started.
Thanks, Jillian. Ready to get started? Implementation is fast because it's the secure enterprise browser you already have. No procurement, no deployment, just configure. And confidently set it as the standard for all users. Get the enterprise browser that does it all. Edge for Business.
Actual game number 1? All right, welcome to, wait, what? I also want checkmate? That's hilarious. Oh my God, I guess this is a fan account maybe? I also want checkmate, that is magical. If you are watching this video right now, hello, good luck, and thank you for playing. Our drawback is friendly fire. Can only move, that's so funny, I'm so distracted at the moment. Okay, drawback, friendly fire. Can only move to squares defended by your other pieces. We've had this one before. Pretty bad one to play with, I'll be honest. Especially with the white pieces, it basically signs me up for playing extremely passively. We get knight to c6. Now, unfortunately, this is not what an I also want checkmate account should play, right? They should play, unless they're like my evil twin, in which case, yeah, I don't think I've ever played this opening in my life. We get knight to c6. We can only make moves to squares, as you can see, that are defended by our other pieces. So I'm going to keep everything sort of in-house, nice and close to the chest, basically. Pretty much pulling every punch at the beginning. We'll play h3. We can always take back because it's defended by the pawn. But that's really where the complication arises. For example, if I move my queen out of the way, this knight is now free because none of my other pieces defend that square besides the pawn on g2, which means that pawn itself cannot take back. I know, it's a headache. We get bishop to e2 is what we'll play. They take, and we'll go ahead and take back. So we have signed up for harder drawbacks, so the opponent, we can pretty safely assume, does not have a particularly difficult drawback. Let's play bishop to d2, knight c3. I'm not really sure how we make progress in the position later down the line, but hopefully the opponent just sort of goes for trades. Nice, that will make our life a little bit easier. We can now castle out of the way, and the opponent plays h6. That's a pretty suspicious move, I'm going to be honest. That kind of stinks of drawback a little bit. There's no real reason you'd play h6 unless you were going for a kingside attack. I guess which would make some sense because I just castled. We'll see. I don't want to start sussing out all of my opponent's moves from the get-go. That's how you go crazy and paranoid. But I do think it's an important thing to keep an eye out for weird moves, because even if you don't know exactly what their drawback is, okay, what is happening? Maybe these are just waiting moves, trying to see where my drawback kicks into play. Let's try a3 on for size. Bother this bishop, force the opponent to make a more concrete decision than moving their pawns. They take. Let's go ahead and take back with, I guess just take back with the bishop. I don't want to have a drawback and a complicated pawn structure. We get knight to e4, which I actually can't take because the only piece that sees it is the bishop, which also means this bishop is now in danger. So I'm going to play queen to d3. So now two pieces see my bishop. Should the opponent take, I have two different pieces that can take back. Nice, we take back, and so far so good. It's quite a headache to have to defend every piece twice, but I think we're doing a half decent job of holding down the fort. We get queen to f6, which means this bishop is effectively free, so I'm going to move. Ooh, I have to be careful with where I move. Unless my opponent, I mean, how would my opponent even know, right? Let's play queen to b3. Let's target the pawn on b7. I have to play with my drawback, but I also can't make it super obvious for my opponent that I am severely suffering at the moment. Queen to d1 I think is a pretty innocuous way to have two defenders on the bishop. And in all fairness, if the opponent somehow sacks their queen right now, they 100% deserve the victory. Okay, we get b5, queen back to d1. a4 would be an interesting way to create some counterplay, but really the opponent is the only one with attacking chances. Because while I can put up the front, I can't actually make more captures again unless everything's defended twice. Yeah, and now the opponent's down to a minute 30, so this may just be a case of hold down the fort until the opponent's time flags out, which I know is probably one of the most boring ways that I can play this, but it seems to be what we're in for. But now they're opening up the center while the king is still there, which is very suspicious. I'm going to take back with the queen. So I'm also looking at this knight because I'd be defended by the bishop, quote unquote, to align with our drawback. Best part is, should the opponent take, I can't even take their king because it would only be my queen looking at the king, and I can only move my pieces to squares defended by other pieces. Queen goes back. I can take now. If the knight takes, then I play rook to e1, and we're looking at some pretty good attacking ideas there. Oh, queen takes means I can take the knight, gives check to the king as well, and in the best case scenario, I scare my opponent into resigning. Okay, we get king to e7, we'll play rook to d1. Rook to e1 doesn't work because if the opponent kamikazes the queen, I can't actually take back. So we'll play rook to d1 instead, lining up on the open file. Bishop g4 will probably be necessary to coordinate an attack on that d7 square. Opponent now down to 50 seconds. I feel kind of bad, but really just strong-arming their time is probably our best shot here. We get king back to f8. We'll play rook to d5, targets the queen. It would be the funniest thing in the world if the opponent played like queen to h2, because I can't even take that. Okay, queen to f4. It's a little close for comfort. We'll play queen to c5 check.
Tidy Cats Breeze unstinks waste unlike any other. Live life unlittered.
File free in the app if you didn't file with us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do It Yourself by February 28th, no matter your tax situation. Get the TurboTax app now.
Ooh, king moves back towards the center. Means I can... Oh, I can't move here because it's not defended by any other pieces. Okay, well, fair enough. Rook d4 targets the queen again and opens up bishop to c6. Rook is defended by two pieces. Bishop would be defended. We get queen goes back. Rook to e4 check. I didn't want to play this just in case the opponent takes. That would have been a nightmare. We can play rook to d1 because it's covered by the bishop. Ooh, queen to d6. I actually can take that. There's two pieces looking at the queen, and the opponent does take back. We'll meet that with, I guess, queen to e3 is fine. Okay, we're now up on time. We're up on material. Our drawback doesn't have any horrible repercussions that I can see right now. Our pieces are very nice and active. We'll play rook to d4. So we're not really low on the number of squares that we can move to. We should be in a pretty comfortable spot to win this. We get king to d7, play queen to d3, feint an attack on the pawn that we can't actually take, but keeping the opponent on their toes. Oh, they don't even bother to defend it. Okay, fair enough. Oh, they're defending d6. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even consider that because I would never take there, just in case the opponent takes back. I can't actually win that exchange. We'll play bishop takes g4 check, working down the opponent's clock and opening up their king's position. King goes back, rook to e4, pretends like we're attacking the rook. I have to sort of swarm the enemy king with my pieces because staying at a distance I don't think is gonna serve me well, but they're down 2 seconds, back up to 5 because of the increment. We'll move the rook out of the way. 3, 2, 1, time. Nice, and with that we do win an actual game number 1. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was spread out. You can't move a non-pawn piece adjacent to another one of your non-pawn pieces, and you can't castle. Oh, that's kind of tough because that means batteries that are side by side are out of the way. Pieces can't defend each other, basically adjacent to one another. So yeah, that's a pretty tough one. It's middle of the road. Our drawback was pretty darn hard. Again, that's what we signed up for. But with that, we do have one victory under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 2. Before we move on, if you want to improve your openings, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position, before delivering this nasty fork. Puzzles are completely free, so you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. Alright, game number 2, we get the black pieces. Our drawback is peons first. Can't move pieces that are one square behind one of your pawns. So I have to move my pawns out of the way first. Yeah, so I can't move my knight because it's one square behind one of my pawns. Wow, that is extremely annoying, actually. Let's do b6. And maybe I just do this? It feels like a really brute force solution, but I don't see a better option. This feels extremely silly, I'm going to be honest. It feels very silly, but I think it might work. It might be fine. I'm concerned about moving these pawns, because that's how you get sacked on and then mated eventually. Let's go h6 for the time being. Opponent castles out of the way. Problem is, there's no other way for me to develop these pieces. So I'm going to have to start pushing these pawns forward, and maybe, whoa, that's not an arrow I meant to draw. Maybe we can get a kingside attack going. That would be very nice, considering we have 0 pieces developed, and the opponent has their whole army, king castled, and is now going for a center break. So we'll try to close that off, still leaning into a potential kingside attack. We get, ooh, pawn to d5 is great news, because we can play e5. Should they take, we can take back. This is a weakness, but there's a lot of attacking chances here. Yeah, queen comes out. Bishop d7 is a bluff move, because they still could take. Since my bishop is behind a pawn, I can't take back. Yeah, but they don't know that that's our drawback. I don't think I've ever even seen this drawback myself. So we'll play pawn to g4, start the attack. Nice, knight goes back, pawn to h5 to follow. This has been a game of moving my pawns, or rather my peons, first. Yeah, pawn to g3 makes a lot of sense, looking to break the pawn structure that's sort of holding back the floodgates for an attack on my own king. I'm pretty sure I just have to allow that to happen. Allow this capture to happen, rather. Or, wait, no, can I just play f3? Yeah, f3 looks pretty good. Okay, cool. Glad I didn't talk myself into allowing that to happen. f3 trying to close up the position. A knight sack is possible, but probably slow. So we still have h4. We have queen coming in. There's mating ideas. Looks like a good time. Pawn to a3, nice. I don't think that's going to cut it. It's a little bit late to start a queenside attack, especially considering my king isn't actually over there, but that's exactly what they attempt to do. We're going to go ahead and take. Oh, if they take with the f pawn, actually, the queen sees the h2 pawn. Interesting. So maybe it's not too slow. Either way, it's going to be my job to make the case that it is too slow. So we'll play queen to e7, looking for queen to h7. Knight to d5. Yeah, that's pretty bad because it threatens this check. But this is drawback chess. You're going to have to lean into losing some material here and there. Knight to c7 check is incoming, right? We have to move the king out of the way, and we do drop the rook. We'll see exactly how we go about justifying losing a rook off the bat. Knight to d4 targets the queen. It'd be great if she moved off the second rank. We get bishop to g5 check instead. We'll play bishop to e7, counterattacking the bishop. I don't know why they didn't just move their queen. It'd be interesting if that was a drawback of theirs. Like one of those move order drawbacks, like you can't move a queen until you move a lesser value piece, or the piece that they can move is based off the piece that I moved, or something like that. And they're having a deep think here. The natural move is obviously just move the queen. Okay, they actually do end up playing that. We'll play knight to f6. If the queen comes in, it does allow queen takes h2, which would be amazing. Oh, not to mention knight to b3 is now on the board as well, which I completely missed. We get knight to c7, knight to b3 is still possible, so we'll play it. It is a free rook unless they decide to come and defend it with the queen, which again would allow queen takes h2. And the opponent is now down to almost a minute on the clock. It's still plenty of time to beat me. I am down a rook, and the attack is completely insubstantiated unless the opponent blunders horrifically, which has been basically the calculations that I've been making, right? They play queen to f2, which is perfectly safe. We'll take the rook on a1, but they do have to untangle their position a little bit, right? They have check, and we can take. Careful not to drop the bishop. They do have to take back with this pawn. Whoa, free bishop. Oh, it's not a free bishop. What am I talking about? There's a knight. Holy smokes. Woo. That was close. All right, e4, target the bishop. Yikes. I've played better moves before, believe it or not. Bishop probably wants to move to b1 just to keep the pin on the pawn, but it moves to c2, which means I can take. Knight takes back. I'm going to move my king back with the idea of eventually e3 if this knight would move out of the way, which could distract the queen, or at least force the queen to move away and then allow queen takes h2. So if I can't get this knight out of here, then I'll play bishop to a4. Or rather, if the opponent doesn't move the knight, then I'll try to force it with bishop to a4. Oh, knight to e3 is a nice move. Ties down my bishop to the pawn, stops e3 from ever happening. So we'll put some pressure on the knight. Problem is now the rook has free reign and these pawns can eventually push. Yeah, but I don't know if I have anything that I can do about that. All right, we're gonna have to try to catch a different angle with the queen. Maybe go into the position somehow. I guess queen d4 would be the only safe way to do that. Yeah, and we get c5, which is not a move that you want to see from your opponent. So queen to d4, trying to make way into the position. We do drop this pawn, but we kind of want to worsen their pawn structure, and they're down to 5 seconds. It'd be a bit of a shame to win this on time, but it seems pretty likely. Yeah, we get knight back. Let's go ahead and take with the pawn, pre-move the recapture. Yeah, and we now have a wall of pawns. And again, the only reason we got that is because the opponent was low on time. But sometimes that is just the name of the game. We get knight to e4. Let's go ahead and push for a check. Opponent down to 1 second. They drop the pawn on h2. h1 is now a possibility. There's a skewer on the way. We have this nice check with the bishop, forces the king back to d1, and then we can promote. Opponent prefers to move the king into danger. We do take, and with that, we do win game number 2. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, game number 2. You won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was noblesse oblige. Oh, somebody corrected me on how to pronounce that, and now I don't remember. Not to mention, I've now pronounced oblige, because I got confused by the first word, which is spectacular. But their actual drawback is your royal pieces, kings and queens, can only capture other royal pieces. Oh, interesting. So in theory, I could have dropped a rook or a bishop or a knight or anything right next to the king, and they would have never been able to take. But, you know, how would you have ever known that? So we did get a harder drawback than the opponent, but not by much. I'm going to assume the opponent was actually decently high rated as well. But either way, with that, we have 2 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get the white pieces. Our drawback is relay race. If you can move a piece that's adjacent to the destination of your last move, you must. That's one of those that I just kind of read and I didn't really process anything. If you can move a piece that's adjacent to the destination of your last move, you must. Interesting. So, okay. Wow, that's really bad, actually. Hold on. So if I play like knight to f3, for example, this piece is adjacent to my knight. I guess this piece is as well, but I'd probably prefer to move the e-pawn. So I would move that pawn, which means this piece would be adjacent and so on. The opponent offered a draw. I do feel bad because I think they thought I was going to abort. They offered draw again. I'm not aborting. I'm just not great at this. We'll play pawn to e3, which means now the destination of this pawn is, or rather this knight is adjacent to the destination square of this pawn. So I have to move the knight. And now the only other piece that's adjacent to my knight is this pawn, which can't legally move. So now I should be allowed to move anything. Okay, cool. I guess that's good. Wow, this is such a bad drawback. Oh my God, I don't like this at all. I'm not even sure what I should do in terms of development. I guess I would lose this knight now too. Wow, what do I do here? I don't think I've genuinely ever been this taken aback by a drawback. I feel like I'm just making moves and hoping that I'm allowed to make. Oh, what? They didn't take back. It's very strange. Actually, I don't even know why they played knight to e4 in the first place. I can move anything now, so I'm gonna move my knight back. Okay, I'm thinking that this drawback, yeah, whoa, they're sacrificing pieces. Okay, this drawback for me is going to entail just making the minimal moves that I have to and sort of trying to keep everything in-house. So I'm gonna play bishop to e2, which is adjacent to a whole bunch of pieces. And I intend to just shuffle those pieces around. Sure, I'm going to take, which is now adjacent to the bishop, so I'm just going to move the bishop around, so on and so forth. That's the plan. We're going to try our best to stick to it. I'm going to move the knight over. I am dropping this pawn, unfortunately, and I can't take back. Okay, fine. We'll play, how about check? How do we feel about that? There's no adjacent pieces as well, so I'm allowed to play anything after. Oh, they take, which means I can take the king. Nice! And with that, we win our 3rd game. I'm gonna be honest, I thought we had 0 chance there, but let's go ahead and pop up the info board. This episode has been, hey, look at that. Glorious. You won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was glorious battle for 4. Oh, it's one of these. Yeah, I feel bad for the opponent. I mean, ours is like one of those drawbacks that against basically anything else is always terrible, but the opponent's drawback against specific drawbacks is really, really bad. Ours, in this case, was one of them. Your opponent's drawback was glorious battle for 4 consecutive moves. Starting on move 14, you must capture or lose. Actually, that's not as bad as the one that I was thinking of. I'm a little bit traumatized still from the ones that I've played before, where you have to move to a certain square 4 turns in a row. But this one is pretty bad as well. Capturing 4 turns in a row is pretty tough. The cool thing is you're actually free from your drawback completely after those 4 turns passed. But now I'm just rambling. With that, we do win all 3 games. Technically 4 if you want to give me a total ghost fake victory. And yeah, that's us playing with all harder drawbacks. Thank you so much to everybody that commented this as an idea. It's been a long time coming for me to actually play this, and it makes a lot more sense than me playing and then checking to see whether or not my drawback was harder. Thanks for watching, and if you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks again to Chess Reps for sponsoring this video. Check them out, link in the description. I will see you guys in the next one. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we return to 3-check chess, where you can win by checkmating or putting your opponent's king in check 3 times. My goal is still to get on this leaderboard. I didn't do it yesterday because I spent that time researching what the top players are doing and playing 15 to 1700 rated players for basically most of the episode. But today I'm going to try my best to get up to 2000 ratings, so I'm actually on this leaderboard. There's also something interesting worth noting. In yesterday's episode I studied Mayo's tactics and openings and general strategies, because they were in 3rd place, but they've been recently booted to 4th, and this leaderboard was just updated a minute ago. And for reference, we've played a lot of variants on this channel, and usually that says something anywhere between an hour to 8 hours ago was the last update. But there are people actively playing right now that must be, to some extent, high rated, or at least on this leaderboard, for this to have updated literally 1 minute ago. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, I've set the rating range to -200, so currently I believe I'm rated about 1900, so the opponent has to be rated at least 1700 for me to get paired. This means I'll play more challenging opponents, so my actual gameplay will become a little more refined, and I'll get more rating every time that I win, which will speed up our process of actually getting onto that leaderboard. Okay, we've been paired with Einstein. Welcome back from the dead. We get knight to c3. Let's go e6. Now, for anybody that doesn't remember, the previous ideas we were playing with, also this is a very common idea, to go sack the knight just to get a check off on the opponent, which is fair. The ideas that we are playing with based off of what we saw in Mayo's games were develop the same colored bishop as the enemy king, develop the knights towards the center, and bring out the queen usually kind of early. Okay, we get knight to f3. We'll play knight c6 and e3. Okay, I'm going to make the opponent make an actual decision about this knight because this looming check is not ideal. Ooh, knight to d6. Why not just take the pawn? I'm not sure. Okay, I'll go ahead and take back with the bishop. Develops one of my pieces. Oh wait, I'm only rated 1800? Wait, why did I think I was rated 1900? Okay, we get bishop to d3 by the opponent. Let's go. Maybe knight to e5. Threatens 2 different checks, so they basically have to take my knight, which centralizes my bishop, nice, and removes one of the defending pieces of that king. Queen comes out to f3. I would play something like d5, but it gives the opponent another free check, and I already have one taken away from me, even though I do have a piece as compensation. Let's do this. I'll go c6. They're mostly going to be working on the light square diagonals because of where my king is and the pieces that they actually have developed. So if I put pawns there, it should be a little bit more defended. We have rook to b1 on the board. Now I think we can go d5, and I'm fishing for d4, I think. If I can open up the center, I actually think I can win that battle. We get b3 by the opponent. The problem is I don't know where I'm going to get any checks. Let's try d4. I mean, really the only thing that opens up is queen takes c6, which if they want to give up the queen for a pawn, even though I only have 1 check left, I would invite that with open arms. But we get e4 instead, closing the center, which makes sense because that's where their king is at the moment. Okay, let's go queen to d6. At the very least, I should be able to get a little bit of a space advantage on the opponent. Okay, bishop to b2. There are no new threats on the board. I'm going to play bishop d7. I'm down to 1:15. This is 3-2, so you get 2 seconds back for every move you make. I cannot possibly imagine that taking is a bad thing for me. If they take with the bishop, then we have a fair trade here. Do I accept? I guess I do, because then I have queen c5. I'm down to 1 minute. I'm probably going to have to pick up the pace here in just a second. Let's see if they decide to castle. That would make things really interesting. They do. So I have no reason to not just go Hail Mary on the king side. So I think that's exactly what I'm going to try to do. The only thing I have to worry about is this open file coming into play somehow with their rooks. That could make my life a little complicated. We get pawn to c4, h4 to follow. Pawn to h3. Is this too much? I mean, obviously we dropped the knight right away. Oh man, I'm down to 40 seconds as well. Okay, I'm gonna play this. This is a pretty rusty first game, but we'll see how this ends. There could even be like some crazy check and the knight g4 idea, but then the queen just takes back, and that sort of puts everything to a halt. Not to mention our own king is very weak at the moment. We only have 2 checks while the opponent has 3. Okay, rook to d1, we're going g5. We have to send this like right now, or I don't think we're going to stand a chance. In fact, I would argue if the opponent can make us not play g4 somehow, I think we're already losing. But bishop c2, g4, I think we're gonna make it in time. I really do. And the whole position is held together by silly string, but I think we're just in time. 41 seconds to calculate exactly how we're gonna finish them off, but there are just so many sacrificing ideas. I can't imagine that checks, I mean, to some extent, they'll just start popping up on their own without even any real calculation on my part. Yeah, queen goes back. Obviously, we're going to take, threatens a check right away. I think they were looking for f4, but this diagonal becomes too weak, I think. Nice, and the time situation is even now. Whoa, en passant, or do I play check right away? Of course en passant, but of course. And I don't think they can stop all the checks that are going to follow now. Yeah, so check number 1. We'll go... Oh, I played that way too fast. I should have taken with the queen first for 2 checks. Oh, yeah, I played that way too fast. Okay, I'm gonna long castle. Yeah, even when you're in time trouble, you have to be precise. So now we're basically just even in checks, but they're basically hiding behind my pawn, and I'm not sure what I do about that. I guess I have to beat them onto this open file, but now we're racing again, and it's not so clear. Okay, let's do this. I think they're looking to set this up. No, rook to f2. Okay, but now I have knight g4, and my idea is check number 1, check number 2. Yeah, so, oh, interesting. Okay, we'll go check number 1 just to get it on the board. And now, 15 seconds is not ideal. This, looking for check number 2, and check number 2 or check number 3 in total does win us that game. It was very shaky. They do offer a rematch. I am all for it. Let's go queen to f3. Let's make them sweat a little bit now. Knight to e5. They are not sweating at all, are they? Okay, queen where? Queen to f4 targets the knight. They do give a check. They're really dead set on giving that first check. And I don't think it's justified. I think I have too many ways to create counter problems. But we'll see it. That's my job now to justify as well, right? Because now I have queen takes c7. Knight comes out. Let's go bishop b5, and I'm looking for check number 1, check number 2, check number 3, right? Actually, I said at the beginning there were 3 concepts. Another one of the concepts that we talked about was drawing the king out from where they're hiding. So we have check number 1, check number 2, and this is forced. I might as well pre-move it, check number 3. Nice, we win that game as well. 6 points for each of those games. They want another rematch. Okay, I think if I dethrone them from 1700, that's where I'll stop playing, because to be honest, they're playing very well, so they deserve the rematch. Let's go e6. Let's go knight b5. Yes, I'm honestly excited to see this idea. I don't think the top players do this. That's my guess, is that the top players don't play knight to b5 because, and we talked about this in the last episode as well, it does take a check away from the opponent. And if the opponent was playing less solidly than this, or less passively, whatever you want to call it, then maybe it would be worthwhile. But from what I can see, I don't think it's justified because it doesn't actually take away any of my defending pieces. Let's go knight to e4. We're going to work with that idea of drawing the king out again, which I don't think I did enough in the last, rather in the first game. So queen comes out to f7. Actually, that's super pesky. Okay, let's go knight g5. Potentially we have a check there, but what I really wanted was to sack on f2. Yeah, ooh, wait, queen to g4, is that actually good? Let's go h5 and make her shuffle around a little bit more. Yeah, funny enough, that actually does work, because if knight to f3, it does give a check, the knight simply takes, and then this becomes a queen trade because the knight actually defends the queen after that, which is actually super amusing. Okay, let's go a6 and make this bishop decide what it wants to do. Okay, it does trade. We'll take back with this pawn. I'm not super afraid of f4. I can kind of just leave the knight there. I would give it up and just give this check. Ooh, we do get f4. Wait a minute. This is a little bit trappy, but I'm gonna play a5. Oh no, my knight. Wait, don't take it. Oh wait, it does work. They can take my knight because the queen just takes back. Interesting. Okay, let's start by developing, but there should be some idea here on the dark squares. What I was hoping they would do is take with the queen so I could take back, trade off, and then bishop g3 forces the king onto a light square, and then the bishop can come out and cause problems as well. We get queen to f2. Okay, now I'm definitely going to take. If they want to sacrifice the queen for a check, that's totally fine by me. It would leave me with one single check, but I have so much counterplay that I don't think they would be in time. Ooh, knight to e2. There's something here, and I just have to find it. Okay, this for certain. No matter how they take back, we have some good follow-up. Oh, they do? Oh my goodness, that's such a good find. Wow. Rook to f1 wins the game. Very well played by the opponent. Slashes 10 points off of our rating. I have a funny feeling they're not going to want a rematch now. I'm going to offer it anyways, but I'm also going to queue up. Yeah, I think they just wanted to win a game, which is fine. Okay, so we lose that game. Ooh, 1900, hello. All right, we've been training with a tricky 1700. So Momo, let's see if you've got what it takes. All right, knight to f3, we'll play symmetrical. Right, knight to c3, and this is the opening that we've been sort of styling recently as well. A3, so Momo at least is concerned about this idea. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go d5. Okay, bishop d3. That's not super dissimilar from what we're looking for. We just have d5 on the board instead of d4. Oh, I see. Knight to b5. This is a concern because of the bishop wanting to go to d3/d6. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go bishop e5. Obviously, if they want to sacrifice for a check, I'm not going to stop them. I would prefer to have the extra piece because it allows me to coordinate my attacks. Now I'm going to go ahead and take back. And I have two different checks here on the board. Bishop b5 I did not see. Yep, now I have to move my king over, and all of these dark squares are weak. So it's going to be a race now to see if I can draw out their king and give checks before they can capitalize on my king's weakness. I'll be honest, they probably have me beat here, but we're going to work to make them prove it. Okay, queen to e2 protects both of these squares, potentially... Actually, no, the queen can't develop anyway there. Okay, what about a6? Forces the bishop back, b5 forces the bishop back again, and it sort of crams their position a little bit. Yeah, b5 again. They couldn't move back to d3, obviously, because we take with check. Bishop goes back to b3. Let's continue with bishop b7. I know it seems like I'm playing this a little bit slowly, but I can't overextend and then find out that I don't have a follow-up, because I'm now down 2 checks for a piece. We get bishop to, or rather, pawn to a4. I'm assuming looking for some sneaky maneuver like this, so I'm going to play b4 right away. Actually, I should be playing for a5, bishop a6. Let's see, a5 queen here. Queen there just seems like it immediately loses the game though. So what if I do this? Queen c5? No, queen b6. They have 1 minute left on the clock, so if I can just apply some pressure and play very, very, very precisely, I might actually be able to put myself in a good position here. Okay, next up on the docket, let's go d4. I would much rather a closed position, 1 because I have knights, and 2 because look at him. Not even a robe on his bare body. He's very, very weak at the moment.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. That's what I'm talking about.
It is alive in here.
Whoa! Stuffs a Christmas present down the chimney. Jokic, the heave. It's a Christmas miracle.
Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Look at that smile.
Let the festivities begin. Welcome to NBA Christmas.
We want to give a gift for y'all.
He's very, very weak at the moment. Ooh, pawn to d3 by the opponent. In that case, queen over, looking for queen g2. I guess e4 stops that in its tracks, but then again, the position is sort of closed at that point, which is what I want. Okay, bishop d2, I'm assuming looking for long castles. Oh wait, also looks to this. Okay, king to g8 right away. Solves some of our problems. Not a lot of them, but some. Not to mention, this is much less appealing now because of long castle, rook g1, and then that is just toast. But what I could do, yeah, is actually look to open up the center, which the opponent is now doing for me. So check number 1. Check number 2, we have to be ruthless here. I guess I'll centralize my knight, and they have 22 seconds, which again, I think is why they made that imprecise move of taking on d4. At least in my opinion, it just seems like now I have practical chances. We get bishop to e3, rook to d8, looking for e5, c5, this. And I question my life choices. Ooh, hello. Rook c4 there is immediately very, very tempting. Bishop c2. I could not care less. I'm going straight for the gullet on this one. Yeah, again, it's just that time trouble comes into play, and it's very, very hard to keep it together. Okay, we've gained 10 points from that match. A little bit fiddly. Not super well earned at the beginning, but we came through at the end with some precise calculation while the opponent was in time trouble. So it is what it is. We do get those 10 points. We're now rated 18-18. Wait, am I queued up? Oh, now I am. Oh, we get paired up. All right, we get the black pieces against Delfino 1766. We get e3, e6, knight c3, knight f6. I've already pretty much decided that I'm fighting for the center, and if the opponent wants to go for that c7 attack, I'm going to welcome it with open arms. Ooh, a3. Okay, we're booting the knight. They can't just hang out and stop my bishop from developing, so we're going to coerce them into taking. Also develops the queen. We get knight to f3 now. What about knight to e5? Allows me to centralize the queen if they do take, and they do. Bishop to e2. Let's go bishop d6. And we get g3. So I'd imagine like knight to e4 and then taking is really amusing. Knight to e4, f4. Queen shuffles over. Actually, no, bishop f3. So I guess the queen would shuffle over this way. We could also just play h4, actually. I've just realized I've kind of been overthinking this. There are certain things from like real chess that transfer over, especially attacking ideas. I've always said that if your opponent fianchettos, it's sort of like Hansel and Gretel. They're leaving you a little crumb, and it's up to you to go and collect that little nugget of opportunity that they've basically allowed you. value. We get pawn to d4, queen to f5. I don't want to play this too quickly and blow it. I guess queen to f5 keeps us in the game. We're looking at all these weakened light squares. I don't know, maybe I should be concerned about g4, but queen e4 looks kind of nice there. No, bishop to f3, maybe I just have to go back. Oh, we get bishop to f3 right away. Wait a minute, I can just take. This is check, and this is also check. So if they take like this, I have check. If they take like this, I sack the bishop, and then I still have check. Oh, king moves out of the way. Okay, we're definitely doing something right here. Let's go ahead and take. And if they don't take back, I'm promoting with check. And if they do take, then I have like knight check or bishop check or any number of checks. I just realized queen b5 is also on the board. That didn't even cross my mind. Oh, queen c2 is now also on the board. Hold on. This is the land of opportunity now. Wait a minute. This is also check. 1, they take. Check 2, they move back though. And then I don't think, oh, and then I just take with check number 3. Okay, check number 1. Oh, this is free. Oh, but it still works. It still works because I can promote with check. That's so nasty. That's the power of just being attacking. Like, I didn't even calculate that rook to, I thought rook to h3 was sound on its own, but I didn't even realize it was hanging, and it didn't even matter because I could have promoted into a queen to give the final check. That's so nasty. another undeserved under the table victory, but we do walk away with those extra, what was it, 7 points of rating? So far so good. I'm liking this. I'm also very amused that we've discovered this knight to b5 / I guess for the black pieces knight to b4 idea. I'm pretty sure that, well, maybe it did come up in yesterday's episode. I'm starting to realize I have the memory of a toothpick, so if I ever say, well, I remember, you can just stop listening for about 10 seconds until I'm done with the thought. Okay, let's wait to get queued up again. All right, we are queued up. How did we get queued up with 1600 if my rating range is set to 200 points below? How does that math work? Maybe it's just working with the initial starting rating. We'll play knight to f6. So I don't know, maybe I have to like refresh the page or something. Let's see if we get knight to b5 again. That would be very amusing. Oh, they play what we play, d4. That's interesting. Does that merit a different idea? Because I guess there's still like bishop to d2, and it's not that concrete. Let's go d5. Let's follow through. Whoa, b4. Okay, I have to take that, surely. Surely that's an obligation. Okay, wait, knight to e4 now. Oh, wait, if they take... Oh, I do get a check, but I've now done what all my opponents do, which is give up a piece for that check. My other option is just to take this way. Should they take, I take back, but then I don't get a check for my troubles. Oh, but I do get a pawn here, and they have to move the bishop out of the way. Or else I check? Bishop b5? I don't know, we're taking this way just to keep things interesting. It just looks really amusing. Okay, while the opponent calculates, I guess we should calculate too. They take. That seems like the natural first move. We take. Now the problem is they can take back my pawn, but then they lose the bishop. So you'd imagine they would move the bishop. And then that looks really good because I can take again. But my concern is they take, I take. They actually take back. And if I take back with my knight, they have bishop to b5 check. Let's see if they see that idea. That would be very amusing. They could literally just take, knight takes, bishop b5 is check number, oh, bishop to b5 instead, right away. I mean, I guess that works kind of similarly. It pins my knight, right? And if I play bishop d7, they can just take. I mean, it's not like I have much of a choice. Bishop d7 is kind of my only move here. And if they do end up just taking, then queen to f6, I guess, right? I'm definitely playing defense now. Yeah, queen takes on f3. I think queen to f6 is my only hope here. Queen takes, I take back, and we've, at least for the most part, cleared the... Okay, do I take with the pawn, though, and then I can fight for the open file? Or do I take this way and target the g2 pawn? So here's the thing. Opposite colored bishops now means that if I keep my king on a light square, this bishop is never going to be a threat. Vice versa, if the opponent keeps the king on a dark square, my bishop is never going to be a threat either. So it's going to come down to who sort of opens up a favorable file faster. Let's go a5 just to get a tempo off on the opponent. Bishop to c5 is actually a very nice looking move. Okay, h5, looking for h4. Right, my biggest concern is that they play something like d5 and somehow they actually get a good like center break, because I think I would be more weak than they would in that situation. I mean, well, I guess there's like bishop to f3 covering d1. I don't know. The opponent's taking so much more time than I am that I kind of feel like I'm just going to win this on time. So we'll play h4. Rook over. I'm just going to take. And then I guess bishop to e4. Rook comes forward. I guess rook to h8, looking at h1 in some future. Rook to d2, yeah. They're going straight for that idea, which is really bad news for me. Okay, b6, how about that? Bishop goes back. I'll move towards the center. If they're going to charge, then I sort of have to meet fire with fire, so I'll be ready here if they do. Pawn to c5. Interesting. Wait, surely I can just take. And then there's like this? That has to be better for me, right? They have 30 seconds left. If they come forward with the king, then I have, you know, any of these little maneuvers. Oh, they go back with the rook instead. I mean, I guess that works. Let's go bishop d5 just to have that check ready. Pawn moves forward, rook b2, and then we can sort of coordinate this. Check number 1, check number 2, and check number 3 wins us that game as well for only 3 points of rating, which is not ideal, but we are getting some good practice in. Okay, we get paired with an 1825 rated opponent who starts with e4. Our response, whoa, wait a minute, check? Hold on, check number 2. Check number 3? Wait, what? Hello? Play again. Give me this guy again. What just happened there? No way, we get paired again. I'm ready. What are they doing? What are they doing? No, not a rematch. I just want to play again. If I get paired with them again, it is what it is, but I'm not gonna... What? Wait, what are they actually doing? No way. Check? Did we catch somebody in a crash out? What's happening? They offer a rematch. I'm gonna ask them, what's happening? With a shocked face in chat. Surely they respond. I mean, I would take the rating, but need to get down to 1800. Keck lol. Now, why on earth do they need to get down to 1800? Are they trying to get into a tournament? Okay, now they're 1797. I'm gonna say, oh, interesting. They do offer another rematch. You're under 1800, buddy. Okay, I'm gonna let them sort of cycle through because let's play now. What? Wait, I'm so confused. Okay, you're 1797. Oh, let's play now like let's play normally? I'm going to assume that's the implication there. I'm not really sure what I've now taken part in, but we've gotten to 1858 as a result, which is amusing, I suppose. We'll go knight c3. They do take, we'll go ahead and take back. I just realized they had knight to d4 there, which was kind of crushing. Okay, let's go bishop b5. We will take the knight and play d3. Okay, h6. They're playing really fast, which I'm not against. I feel like I'm literate enough in this variant that I don't have a problem with picking up the pace a little bit, right? Because the ideas sometimes can come a little bit naturally. Like, obviously their idea now is to break through on the queen side. Ours is to break through in the center because that's where their king is hanging out. I think I'm going to go for the sacrifice here. And then bishop c5 cuts off the king. I know I'm dropping the knight, but I have a check here. King to d7 though. Okay, rook to e1 seems to allow rook to e8 though. King to c6. Knight f4. Oh no, my bishop. Oh no, don't take my bishop. That would be very bad. I think they're actually not going to take my bishop. Yeah, rook to d8. Good find by the opponent. Let's go. Knight to d3. We defend the bishop, but we also threaten check again. And then if like king b7, we have like, I don't know, bishop e7 and then check here, I guess. We do get king to b7, but only after a little bit of thought. I think probably because they also saw this idea. So one of two things, they either give me back the exchange and then I'll be up a piece, or I get check number 1 and almost guaranteed like either a forced check number 2 or a really good attack on the king. Okay, now they're using up a decent amount of time, which normally at this point in the game would put you in time trouble, but we blitz through the first 20 moves so quickly that they're actually totally okay here in the middle game. We'll see what sort of idea they come up with. I mean, my king is not untouchable, but they have a light squared bishop. And again, this idea sort of keeps popping back up, probably because the knights get traded so quickly, but my king is on dark square at the moment. It's also something you wouldn't think about in normal chess, right? Just being put in check once in normal chess is probably one of the least of your concerns as long as your king isn't in actual danger. But here, a single check can change the entire course of the game. It can turn a tactic that would give 2 checks into something completely meaningless, from something completely meaningless into a game-ending tactic. Okay, now they are down to 37 seconds. Rook to e8. It does pin the bishop. I'm not going to hesitate to check the king, though. Knight back? Actually, knight back to d3 is fine, right? We're still defending the rook. King goes back to b8. Oh, interesting. I'm sort of running in circles here. That's really interesting. Okay, what about knight to e5? They can't actually take because knight c6. Now I take on f7 and I have this? It's all very, very questionable all of a sudden. Bishop to f5. There's definitely at least one check, but I don't know if I can force a third sort of final check. Check this way, take with the pawn is more interesting, but I think still not conclusive. Okay, let's try this. They also have 26 seconds, so there's some chance I can force an imprecision. I guess you don't force imprecisions, you sort of just catch them when they happen, but you get the sentiment. We get bishop to d7. I don't know. c4, I guess? Anything to open up the king a little bit. If they take, then we have this little combo, which is kind of nasty. If they take this way, then maybe we take first. Okay, the king goes back. I am going to take on d5. I still think I'm not in any danger. D6, there's this check, there's this check. They have 5 seconds to figure out what they want to do. King to A8. I mean, I have time to calculate. I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to be looking for here, because that king on A8 is actually super concrete. Let's go King B2. Ooh, pawn to C6 cements the pawn and closes the position, sort of. Rook back? They have 2 seconds. A5 is what we get. Okay, A3, I guess. And then C3 to cover B4. Rook to E4 sets up this sort of sacrifice. I don't think it does anything real. Knight to E5, looking for the bishop. They're obviously looking for B4. Yeah, which is actually decently scary. I guess pawn takes. And then king over. If they want to play check, king to b2, I think closes things off again. Check number 1, we sack the rook anywhere for check number 2. They actually did bring us back down to 10 seconds. They did resign, and we get the 6 points of a rating. GG's to the opponent. Oh, they do say GG's. Hold on, let me respond. GG's. Boom. Okay, that puts us at 1860 something, 1865. We'll go ahead and queue up again. Okay, we do get paired with a 1700 rated opponent. Wait, what is their name? What, the Caleb? That's kind of funny. They play c3. We'll go ahead and centralize the knights. Bishop b5, knight to c6, stops that sacrifice. They do take. I'll go ahead and take with the b pawn, just so I can cut off their castling ability. They go knight to d4. Interesting. I mean, you'd imagine c5 forces the knight to go back. Yeah, knight back to b3. Bishop d6. We're still developing. I'm just not totally sure what we're... Maybe knight to e4. I guess that sacrifice is what we're looking for. Right, queen to f6 ideas are suddenly back on the board, but we are met with queen to f3, which hits the knight and threatens to sack on f7. Okay, let's go bishop b7 to protect the knight, and if they do want to give up the queen for a check, I think I'm totally willing to fight that battle just because they're a little bit underdeveloped at the moment. Okay, the queen retreats to e2. There are discovered attacking ideas. I'm going to go h5 now. I really could just sacrifice right away and take the rook, but I was waiting for something just like that for them to weaken their own position a little bit more. We get a check, and suddenly I think we're actually in business. Let's go queen to f6, looking for bishop f3. Ooh, pawn push, hands over the rook. We do still have all 3 checks on the king, so we don't have to play defense of any kind. Let's go queen to h4, and I'm looking for like bishop e4, check, and then check, or the reverse of that, something along those lines. I think they're looking to sack the knight. I'm going to allow them to continue with their plan because I don't think it actually puts us in any danger. They do put us in check, so now it's 2-2, but I think we're the ones with the actual follow-up. They only have 1 check left on the king. There should be no defense here. Queen to d1 wins the game. All right, nice. Queuing back up. Oh, with what the Caleb again. He's like, what the Caleb is going on? Terrible joke. Holy smokes. We have pawn e6. We'll go queen to f3. Similar idea, just this knight is not going to f3, obviously. We'll go to h3 instead, looking for this sack. Maybe knight to g5. Whoa, they sacrifice right away. Okay, I'm game for that. We take, I guess they're looking for knight b4. Maybe I should play a3 now, or c3, or one of those. Actually, no, I can just play bishop b5, and I have this sacrificing sequence, which wins us the game. Yeah, I need to learn to not take my eyes off the prize, because that seems to happen all too often for me, where I convince myself that, oh, this is an exception to all of the rules that I've learned, as if I were some sort of master Uguay that can start manipulating the rules before I've even tried to apply them, right? But then when I apply the rules and I'm like, no, I'm going to continue to draw out the king, which is the one that we applied here, then suddenly things start working out for me, and then I have to act surprised. We get pawn to e3, we'll go pawn to e6, so eye on the prize, draw out the king, develop the knights, develop the queen, you know, obviously develop the same colored bishop, etc., etc. And then if it really actually doesn't work, which should be the minority of the time, then we can start talking about, okay, this might be an instance of an exception. This might be evidence towards an exception, maybe. There's also a chance I just played it wrong. So I'll try to stick by the rules a little bit more. Knight to f3. Let's just go a6. I don't really want this in my camp anymore. Bishop goes back, sure, b5, allows us to develop to b7. Knight to g5, yeah, they're looking to take. I take, queen to h5, but then I just take, bishop takes, I take. I don't know. I don't think there's a follow-up there, so bishop d6, because that's only 2 checks, and it gives up a whole bunch of material, right? So they have 1 check, but they've given up 2 pieces, and this is not a game winner because I just take it with the knight. Okay, we get g3. Now we can start focusing on what our attack is going to be, which is to target all of these light squares, right? That light squared bishop is vamoosh off the board, so it's kind of our job to now target those squares as best we can. Let's go this way just to restrict the queen from being able to come out. Hopefully she shuffles over to e1. Nice. Now, queen to b8, I'm looking for a check. King takes, check, whatever they play. I sack the queen, and then we win. It's really funny because 3-check is one of those variants where taking a free rook is like the least of your concerns if there's even an inkling of an idea to get at the king. Okay, now it is one of my concerns because it's going to help me get into that position. Yeah, check number 2, hold on to the queen for whatever check, and we do get the resignation to win 4 more points of rating. We're approaching 1900 at the moment. Sneaking our way forward, I was genuinely convinced that I was already 1900. Tragedy. Okay, 1751 against Hitman, who hopefully does not hold vendettas over 3-check chess games. We'll play knight to f6. We do get this knight to b5 idea again, which has been a reoccurring theme, but I think we've only had 1 or 2 games where it's been very tricky to shut down. But I think even in those games we end up winning anyways, so I'm not super concerned. Right, we get pawn to a3. Now, my job is to draw out the enemy king. I'm actually going to play knight to e5 first, because if I play knight to e4 right away, what... Okay, that's either a misclick or I'm getting trolled. I was gonna say knight to e5 to stop queen to f3 from happening. King to e2 I just don't even have a justification for. I guess b6. If they're gonna put it on a silver platter, then who am I to turn it down? I guess, yeah, check number 1. I'm ready to sack for check number 2. Give me check number 2. Check number 2. And then, okay, free queen. Pretty much anything here leads to check number 3. So this is like a fork, basically. There's 2 different checks. So the king has to physically move off of e2. Moves into check, check number 3. Okay, nice. 5 points of rating, don't mind if I do. I'm not sure if I was getting trolled with king to e2. It is definitely possible. Okay, no way. Okay, you guys don't know this because obviously it's edited down, so a 4-minute wait for you guys, for me rather, is, you know, a 1-second transition for you, but I've been waiting here for a hot second just passing the time, and so to me, it's very surprising that we get paired with What the Caleb again. We'll see if they go for the same idea. Okay, they seem to be locked and loaded with knight b5, knight c7, dead set on playing that no matter who the opponent is. Oh no, bishop b5. Okay, they're changing up their strategy. Let's do, I'm a little concerned. Bishop d6, they take, but then the thing is, I take back with the pawn, and knight b5 is not possible, knight to e4 is not possible, so the bishop on d6 isn't a weakness in my book. Let's just go bishop d6. I think that's totally fine. We're right on the cusp of crossing 1900. Ooh, a3. Okay, so they've totally revamped their approach, which is actually really amusing to me. I think I'm going to press the issue with a6. I just don't like the idea of this pressure here for no reason. I'd like to move my knight to e5 if possible, but I don't like bishop takes d7. So if they're going to trade, I'd rather they do it now. If they're not going to trade, I'd rather know and have their bishop not looking at d7 anymore. Possibly an over-explanation, but final point being, this guy has to decide what he wants. Okay, b5. We're going to force it back to b3, which allows bishop b7. We fianchetto the bishop, which is kind of nice. The only thing is, the opponent is the one that still has d4 on the board, which is not like a huge issue, I don't think. I think it's something we can deal with, but they would definitely have more central control than we do. Whoa, knight g5? Wait, isn't this what they played last time with the sacrifice? I mean, it didn't end up working because they only had 2 checks. Okay, the knight does go back to f3. So basically they've afforded us 2 extra tempo, queen to e7, and now whatever move we please to, or I suppose 1 extra tempo? 1 extra tempo. Yeah, because we would arrive at this position anyways, we just have queen to e7 sort of as a bonus move on the board. Okay, let's go knight to e5. I think we're at a good spot here to start causing some trouble. Knight to e5 targets the knight on f3, the bishop now looks down the long diagonal. Rook to g1. I'm also up a decent amount of time against the opponent. I'm gonna go ahead and take on h2, target the rook. Rook slides back over, bishop slides back over as well. We've now evaporated this pawn, and maybe there's like an attack here with h5, h4, h3, which looks horrendously slow, but might work now since this pawn is missing, queen to e2. There's so many sketchy ideas that probably shouldn't work but look really interesting, like this maneuver, sacking and then like bishop g3 or something. I don't know. We'll just go h4 and go for the classic sort of busting open of the position, leading the way with a pawn break. Very standard idea. There's no need for me to overcomplicate this, although that did look kind of interesting. That's the kind of move that if I was already rated 2000 and I was playing games just for content, I would play into, just because I would want to find out where that sort of leads. But since I'm doing a rating climb, I'm going to treat it a little bit more like a game of probability. If I was given this position, 100 times, what would I want to play 100 times to get the best results? We get pawn to f3, g2, rook to h2, even better. This looks really suspiciously good for me, because g2 now follows. Queen to h4 is a free check if I could just get that knight out of the way, which shouldn't be very difficult at all. Yeah, queen goes back. Okay, what am I looking at here? g2, I have a minute to calculate it, so there's no pressure. Queen to f2, knight to e4? No, knight to h5. Looks for bishop g3. The rook could just take, but then there's check. King to e2. I mean, I have more pressure than the opponent, so I guess I could just go knight to h5 and figure it out later. Okay, rook to h1 is super amusing, because I think that just walks into g2, right? I can promote with check, winning the queen as well, and then I just take back the rook, and suddenly there's actually nobody there defending the king, so we do get the resignation, and 4 more points to the rating.
Who did you get? Thank you.
Go ahead, make your day with Samsung OLED S95F. With glare-free technology, even smarter with smart things.
Oh no. What the Caleb, if for whatever reason you end up realizing that you're in a video, in this video specifically, I do apologize that we've gotten paired back to back to back with no clear end in sight. I'm also considering, as a side note, now no longer talking about my opponent, starting to play knight to f3, and I know that I already said that I'm not going to dig myself any more holes, but it just seems like what I play with black is really nice because I can lead with the knights and then follow up with the queen, whereas now I'm playing queen to f3 because that's what Mayo played in some of his games. I don't know, it's just food for thought. I'm not necessarily going to lean into it, but like I said, food for thought. How's that? We'll play bishop c4. d5 can't possibly be good, right? I mean, it would open up the e file, so you'd imagine I'd just castle and then play rook to e1. So I will castle. If they want to sacrifice for a check, I mean, by all means. If they don't, then I have d4 staring at the bishop, and I am not against either one of those outcomes. In one, I win a free bishop. In the other, I get full central control while their king is in the middle of the board. Okay, they do go for the bishop sack. We'll take back on f2. Knight to f6. Now, you'd imagine they want to castle here. I'm going to play... I think I'd like to play d3 here. I'm going to focus on getting my pieces out, even though knight g4 is kind of an issue. So I could have played h3 there since the knight already protects the pawn. I don't think the single knight is going to give me 2 more checks. So I think my sort of big picture idea, without saying any real concrete moves, is finish developing all of my pieces so that by the time they actually castle, I'm ready for an attack. Okay, wait a second. Pawn to b5, I imagine I just move the bishop back. So they do castle. Ooh, h3 now or after bishop g5? Because if I allow knight g4, I have to move back. Okay, we'll go h3 right now. It feels slow, but I can also make the argument that it's just really concrete, even though it, again, feels slow. Looking for bishop g5, looking to double rooks, and then hoping that some sort of breakthrough / attacking idea materializes. Maybe like bishop e7, removing the rook, and then you take? I don't know. A little too far ahead to start imagining those exact precisions. Okay, bishop g5 definitely puts us on the right track. I'd imagine knight to h5 is the move here. I mean, if the knight goes back, then we're also trapping the rook. If the knight just stays, then we're doubling a pawn, and there has to be some sort of rook lift idea there. If knight to h5, I can't stop knight to g3. Well, I guess I could play king to h2, I don't know. We get knight to c5 instead. Whoa, I'm definitely going to take here. I wonder what they're thinking about. Maybe taking here first? I mean, they have 20 seconds. There's not a lot of time to calculate this very precisely. I mean, I have 2 minutes though, so... Again, I just have to play this precisely and I'll be in a really good spot. I'm going to go ahead and just double the rooks. There's no need to overcomplicate this. They do take, I'll take back. 5 seconds for the opponent. They push a c-pawn, sure. Knight to h4. Do I care about my knight? I guess I should. We'll play knight b5, take on f6. They're threatening this check. I'll just, we get the resignation. I was going to move the king out of the way, and then we have ideas of like knight to g6, and then like rook to f8, rook to h7. We come in with the other rook. It's just checks galore at that point. Okay, we're rated, what are we? 1891, right on the cusp of 1900. Okay, there we go. Somebody new. What is their name? Tropical Paradise. We get pawn to e3. We'll play e6. Knight to f3, knight to f6. I have to say, I quite like the opponent's opening. Oh wait, what is this? Knight to e5. Never mind. We'll play knight to c6. I was kind of hoping they'd play knight to c3 so I could complement their opening even more. Okay, we get knight to c4, presumably looking to sack. I'm going to encourage that. I mean, by all means, sack on d6. I develop my bishop. Oh no, we get knight to a3 instead. Okay, interesting. Let's go bishop d6 and then knight to e4, I think, or maybe knight to e5 first. I think we've determined that knight to e5 should come first, so the queen can't come to f3 when we go to sack on f2. I mean, unless they want to play d4, in which case, you know, we have bishop b4, sack the bishop. That's 2 checks on the board right away. Oh, they're gonna go d4 anyways. Okay, let's go knight to e4. If they develop the queen, then we'll go knight to e5 and try to push the queen around. Ooh, queen to e2. This opponent is not going to let me get a check on their king so easily. Interesting. Okay, what do I do about this? They've seen straight through my plan, and I'm not really sure where to go from here. Maybe just queen to f6? I'm gonna try to stick to the principles, because as soon as I start calculating this, that, takes, you know, the mental arrows, I start losing the focus of like the big picture. Knight to b5, I think I can just castle out of the way. I'll go ahead and pre-move the recapture, assuming they want to get rid of my bishop. Okay, pawn to d3 boots the knight. I wish I could sack here, but the knight just takes. And I don't have any checks on the opponent's king to justify playing that explosively, at least not yet. I mean, I could play like check number 1, queen takes, sack the knight, and then like f5, Hail Mary the situation. I don't know, that seems extreme. It also looks like a lot of fun. What do I do here? Moral dilemma. Do I play what I think is solid or what I think is fun? Okay, we'll go knight to c5. We'll play solid, again, with the idea that if I was given the same opponent and the same position 100 times, what would I play to give myself the best odds? I'd probably play knight to c5. Okay, pawn to g3. I mean, I kind of have a definite plan of going to e5. I have to attack the king. He's sitting there in the center, and all of my pieces are poised for a sort of center break. Bishop to g2, I'm thinking they want to castle out of the way sooner rather than later, which I do not blame them for, not even one bit. Okay, let's start sacrificing. Check number 1. e4, and I'm looking for knight to e5 to get check number 2. Queen goes back. I guess I could just sack. Queen takes, knight to e5. But king to f1, and I don't think I have a follow-up. So knight to e5, I've already given up a piece. I have 44 seconds. I need to get some moves on the board. If they do castle, knight to f3 looks amazing there. Gives another check. They probably will take. I take back with the pawn. We have amazing control over the light squares. Even something like queen h6, queen h3 looks for mate already. Whoa, king to f1. Now we're getting creative. Bishop g4 targeting the queen. I have 33 seconds. I genuinely need to stop celebrating my position so much and start actually winning the game. Okay, f3, surely we can take, and there's a forced check here on f3, or even h3. Yeah, h3 is way better because then you have the knight follow up. Yeah, this is forced winning already. No matter where the king moves, the knight can give check. If they do block, then I don't know, I sack the queen or something. Yeah, and we do get the resignation for 6 more points of rating Q back up. We get paired with Yin NM, rated 1716. We're like this close to 1900. Pawn to e3, knight to f6. What an amazing opening by the opponent. If I play knight to c3, it would be the best opening I've ever seen. C4. They were this close to perfection. Okay, let's go knight to c6. I say that now. Karma, the way karma works is now I get squashed and lose 20 points of rating in this game. Okay, pawn to a3. I think I'm actually doing very well here. We'll go d5. They've given me this pawn to target, so I'd imagine, yeah, this looks kind of really good, actually. I'll go ahead and take with the queen. This is very, very interesting already. Okay, knight to c3, queen over. This is the game where I learned that really interesting does not equal really good. I don't know, I have bishop d7, long castles. Looks kind of nice. Looks, like I said, looks really interesting. Ooh, knight to b5. I did not even vaguely consider. Wow, I think I might just have to give them that check. I mean, I could go like king to d8, but that's just, that's a really sorry position to be in. Yeah, because I have nobody defending c7. Well, maybe knight d5. I don't know, but you're supposed to go for knight e4. To be fair, you're also not supposed to have your queen way out here. Let's just go bishop d6. I'll give them the check. It's totally fine. I'm ready to castle. They're not. Hopefully that could make the difference. Okay, bishop to e2, knight to e4. There's no bishop here to give checks as well. Not to mention, I'm the one down checks at the moment. I only have 2, and the opponent has 3. So we're definitely fighting the uphill battle. I don't think we have to be too gloomy about it. Oh, do I sack the knight? Surely not. No, let's give a check. Check on a5. You've got to keep your eyes peeled for these checks. They will come and go very quickly. And I think now we're sort of forcing the knight to end up recapturing and the knight to e5 at the end. So what I'm envisioning is bishop d2, because if the king moves out of the way, then I'll just sack here and then sack here. Oh, that's... I talked it into existence. Yay, let's go. All right, knight g3, and then it's forced mate on e1. Nice. All right, with that, we do cross 1900, which does not put us on the leaderboard. So put your fists back down. We're not celebrating yet. I mean, you can do a little celebration, but we're still a ways to go from 2000. Okay, we get paired with Tropical again. We get pawn to e3. Let's go e6. What happened last time? I don't remember. Did they play like knight b5 or something? I feel like I got in trouble last time. Actually, no, I think I won this one okay. Like I said, memory of a toothpick. We get pawn to h3. Let's go knight c6. Pawn to a3, d5. They've stopped both of these ideas, but in doing so have sort of, I was going to say lost some tempo in terms of fighting for the center, but there it is, d4. They're back in the game. Bishop d7, we're stopping that. Not to mention they also had knight to b5, which I did not do anything about. Knight to e4, how's that? Knight to e4 because h3 means that this pawn structure can't really come to be, this sort of pseudo fianchetto without the bishop on g2. So it's actually kind of weak. Queen to e2 does come in to defend it, right? So sacrificing isn't as convincing anymore. Before it would have given us 2 free checks, but now the queen sort of just takes back. If I take here, I don't think that does anything. Oh, what about knight g3? That's so interesting. Knight g3 forks the rook and the queen, and if they take, then bishop takes with check. That's so strange. Yeah, so they do prefer to give us the check. We've now given up a piece for a check, so we have to sort of follow this up with something. So let's start with queen to f6. Ooh, e4, firstly, super aggressive. If knight takes, we walk into a check, so I don't like that already. If we take here, I don't know, queen takes back. Again, knight takes is followed by a check, so I really don't want to play that. What if I just castle? If e5, I sack the queen, queen takes, knight takes d4. Ah, they still take on d7 though, but then I win back the queen? Is that worth it? I don't know. I don't know. The queen sack is calling my name, but the rational side of me is saying just play queen to f5. But then bishop d3, and what am I walking into there? I'm gonna go for the queen sack. They only have one more check that I need to give. Just one more check, and I'm good looking in that position. I mean, I guess if they take with the queen, I could even play f6. So they take with the pawn instead. Take on d4. Queen to d3. Now I'm gonna take on b5 and then play f6. Again, with the idea of getting the rook into the game. Sure, knight takes b5. I could also play knight to f5. Does that work, knight to f5? Does that force a queen sack? Actually, I think it does. Weirdly enough, knight to f5, I'm pretty sure forces a queen sack there. And now the opponent only has 1 check left to their king, so pretty much anything that continues this attack later, even if it's, 10 moves down the line, should win us the game. Nice, we do get the queen sacrifice. King to g2. It's not going to be that easy, I suppose. I could even just play rook to e8. King takes, rook here. King goes back, rook takes. I'm pretty sure there's no escape. Yeah, pawn to f4. The opponent realizes that as well. Okay. Rook to e6, looking to set up a discovered attack. Ooh, king to f3. I mean, they're fighting tooth and nail to get out of this, but we're going to go g5. Okay, they're down to their last 20 seconds. I don't think they're going to come up with anything here to get out of this little sticky situation. The king does go back, so I'm going to go ahead and take, which sets up f3 again. I mean, if the king keeps walking back, then I'll keep sort of stomping forward until I do get the check that I need. Okay, bishop takes. I will take back. I'm assuming the idea here is move the king out of the way and then give check. The problem is I sort of just meet that with rook g6. Yeah, we do grab the victory there by forfeiting on time, or rather by the opponent's forfeit on time, and get 5 more rating points. So 1907 at the moment. What on earth? Super duper mole, how did we get paired against you? I'm so confused because it only happens once in a blue moon, but every so often we get paired with an opponent that is definitely not within our rating range. And again, once in a blue moon, but we got paired so fast there that I was like, what? And there it is, 1572. And again, that's not meant to disrespect the opponent in any way. I'm just trying to be efficient about the rating climb. I'm more than happy to play the game. I'm just amused by how it just happens every so often, seemingly randomly. Okay, pawn to c6. I have a funny feeling this opponent won't be so easy to break. These are all very concrete. I'm hesitant to call them book moves because I don't even know if there's like an official line of theory that we're supposed to be following. I'm pretty much just playing whatever it was that I saw Mayo playing in that previous episode. We get bishop c5, but they're playing all very concrete looking moves. Let's go bishop to e2. If they do want to sacrifice for the check, I'm game for that. We'll go ahead and take back. And now we should have that previous idea of like the rook giving the final check. So I don't know, we're looking at like e5 or something. Knight g5, sack, some sort of situation there. Ooh, b5. Okay. e5 sort of forces the knight back. Or let me rephrase, if the knight moves out of the way at all, we win because this is check number 1, check number 2, and then no matter where black plays, check number 3 is guaranteed. Because we'll sacrifice the rook for anything, and if the king moves, then we'll just line the rook up next to the king. I'm actually pretty sure they realize that too. Yeah, knight to a6, they purposely give up the knight. We'll see if they take back with the pawn or the queen. Ooh, pawn to g6. Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, pawn to g6 uses my own pawn against me. So there's going to be zero tomfoolery on f7. Obviously, I'm going to reroute to d6 and try to find some other way in. Maybe knight g5 and I sack and then I push. But none of this tomfoolery about the rook on the f-file. I'm also pretty sure they're hunting knight b4, knight c2. I could just castle, which I think puts me in a really good spot. They have 48 seconds left to figure out what to make of this. They play pawn to d5. I could just give a check, but it's a little bit of an offhand check that doesn't really have a follow-up, so I'm going to line up a sacrifice on f7 instead. I will castle out of the way. If they do want to take and then take my rook, I have nothing against that. We get queen to b6 looking for check here. I think we just trade and sack on f7. So that's check number 1. We're guaranteed at least a second check. The question is, are we guaranteed a third? I don't think we are, but it shouldn't be hard to make one sort of appear out of thin air. So that's check number 2. Oh, and wherever they play, we promote to check number 3, or we sack the knight for check number 3. So yeah, we can promote to a knight here for check number 3, which is possibly the most insane victory. Actually, no, I still think the rook on h3 when we play as black, like earlier in the episode, was crazier. But promoting to a knight to give the final check is arguably either a close second or, in some people's opinion, possibly first. All right, that puts us at 1909. We gained 2 points of rating for our efforts. I mean, it was a great game. It was very, I'm glad we got to play it because it's so amusing, but we need to get some higher rated opponents. Okay, what is this? I'm starting to think that if you don't get paired after a certain amount of time, they sort of just give you whoever. So I'm going to play this game and then I'll refresh the page and set that custom rating range, set it up manually one more time. I get C5, so a Sicilian. Welcome back to the Danish episode, for those of you that saw that one. Queen to A5, yeah, check number 1, check number 2, and unstoppable check number 3, even if it's with the pawn. Yeah, check number 3 wins us the game. Okay, let's do a little, hold on, they're auto pairing me. Maybe that's what was going on. Refresh the page, minus 200. We've queued ourselves back up. Okay, there we go. Now we're talking 1826. My reaction when I see an opponent that can genuinely kick my butt. But again, we can get some good ratings. So knight to c3, knight to c6. We'll continue with the previous knight to d4. I've got to worry about. They play knight to e5 instead, which is significantly less concerning because it looks like they're just looking for this check. Oh, bishop d6. How amusing. Still looks for the check, but this time it wins my queen. Well, that's actually a big concern. Let's go queen g5, targeting g7. Since the bishop moved away, we're going to target that weakness. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to reconsider queen to f3 because it sort of takes our extra tempo of fighting for the center with the knight specifically and throws it away. So those two squares are basically handed over, gift wrapped to the opponent. We get, what? Pawn to a6. So they're inviting this. Rook shuffles over, check, takes, and I don't think there's anything else there. So let's go bishop to e2 and at least look to castle. Or maybe not. Maybe we just play d4. Maybe I should have actually just played d4. Yeah, d4, their only choice is to give me check. Because if they just move the knight, then there's e5. And that has to be a concern for their king's position. Yeah, so they do give that check. I suppose, who do I take with here? I guess I can take with the pawn. I'd rather keep the bishop here where it actually has chances to become sort of part of the attack. And the most interesting thing is this is still on the board, right? If that knight ever moves, I trade queens, which is dead even with check, and I keep my extra piece. Okay, they allow e5, which is interesting. I'm assuming they're trying to get their king out of danger as fast as possible. Yeah, bishop b4. We'll stop that idea with bishop d2. And the craziest thing is this knight is still, in a sense, lost. I mean, they could move it out of the way, but then I have queen takes with check. Now they only have 2 checks to their king. They have to take back with the rook, so the king is stuck in the middle. Now, is there anything here? No, I just take back. So I'm in a really surprisingly good spot here. Let's go a3 and make this bishop figure out what it wants to do. It does trade. I'll take back with the pawn so I can dethrone the knight. And as far as I can tell, I mean, knight e7 seems to be the only safe retreating square there. Knight goes back to e7. Yup, that seems about right. Bishop g5 pins the knight. Bishop takes, I have knight to f4. Again, you sort of see that interesting pattern. Oh, they give up the rook. Whoa, that's amusing. I was gonna say you see that interesting pattern of dark squared king, but light squared bishop. Knight to g6. I think I just ignore that because I have an extra piece and I would rather that piece be a part of a team in the sense that if they trade, I would have doubled bishop, or rather not doubled bishops. What is it called? What is it called when you have both bishops? The bishop pair, yeah. I would have the bishop pair and the opponent would only have one bishop. So I'm a danger on, I'm a menace on all of the squares and the opponent's only a menace on the light squares. Let's go ahead and just take and then play h4 so there's no open file ideas. If the bishop does take, I don't know, I guess rook to g1 is probably fine. Sure, rook to g1. Bishop goes back to h3. Now we need to start opening up some files. I could also just trade, but I don't know. I like the idea of having both colored bishops. So let's go a4. Bishop goes back to f5. Is a5 premature? Takes. Yeah, rook to b8 does not look nice. So king to d2 first. So king to e3 is possible. Ooh, c5 goes to open up the center. Okay, let's go rook to b1. If they take, c4. Again, I'd much rather keep the center closed. c4? Oh, if I take, they take my rook. Oh, I did not see that. I guess I don't really care. Rook takes b6. Ooh, king castles, and suddenly this is only a danger for me on the queen side. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take. Rook to b8, c5. Should they take? I take back. a5 locks up the position. Unless they play a5 first. Wow, that's a nice find. Okay, but then I have bishop b5. Should still lock up the position just fine. I could also play bishop d3. I like that because then rook to b1 is possible, and I'm also fighting on the queen side. Rook shuffles over. I guess we can take here first. And if they take on b6, then bishop c2, and there's definitely no extraneous checks that I have to worry about. So we each have 2 checks on the king. So I think h5 here is just totally winning. Yeah, they take bishop here, right? I think this looks good. g6, king c1. Oh, rook to a2 has check and then check. Oh, that's tricky. Wait, but king b1. Oh, is that too weak? King b1, rook a3, king here. The best they can do is 1 check. So I think I'm just trapping the rook. I do give up 1 more check, but there's definitely no follow-up. Right, king here, and then I just take. I only have 1 check to my name, but it doesn't matter because this attack is ridiculously overwhelming. Yeah, so check number 1. Doesn't even really matter how I go about it. And then check number 2, sure. All right, 6 more points to the rating vault. Ooh, they offer a rematch. Don't mind if I do. Sorry, e6. Got a little bit distracted there. Knight to f6. Knight to f3, knight c6. What a wonderful opening by the opponent. Bishop to b5. Do I challenge this right away or do I just kind of let it marinate? I guess I challenge it right away. Why would I let my opponent's attack marinate? It seems like the worst idea in the world. We'll play pawn to d5. And then we'll play, I don't know, bishop d6, bishop d7, queen e7. All of that looks nice. Knight to g5, we've seen this idea before. Usually it doesn't have a concrete follow-up. I mean, now they're threatening bishop to h5, but still, we take back with the queen, and we're sort of hanging tight there. If anything, it sort of allows me to go knight to e5. Let's go bishop d7 first, though, so there isn't any free checks on the board. Bishop to b2. Actually, I'm going to go h6. Boot the knight back, so when I go to e5, I'm actually threatening something, which is a check with a fair trade. Nice, we take back with the bishop. Pawn to d4. I guess bishop d6 is the only choice. Uh-oh, pawn to h3 starts weakening these squares again, starts giving me some wacky ideas. Knight to e4, we also have this battery lined up if that knight ever moves. Uh-oh, this looks good. This looks very good. Oh, sweet. Check number 1. I assume the knight's going to go back. We get check number 2. Oh, the king moves over. Ooh, interesting. So I either save my bishop or I take back. Wow, that looked so much better when I calculated it a second ago. I guess I take back, but then I lose the bishop. Yeah, that wasn't great. We'll go h5, and even though, again, it's a little bit slow, I'm not going to win with just the queen, so I need more firepower. I mean, b5 is probably my biggest concern, but I play a5. I'm going to allow them to take if they need to, and hopefully in that time I get an attack going. Ooh, bishop takes h5, looks for this check. That's very amusing. Queen to g5 targets the bishop, and I think if they take, I just move over. I know I'm giving up a lot of material here, but how did I didn't see bishop to b5. e5. Okay, obviously I'm moving over, right? Oh no, maybe I should have just taken. Queen to f3 doesn't work because I just take. Queen to h. Oh my goodness, I'm playing this so bad all of a sudden. Oh, that's so. Okay, okay, let me start by saying this. I still think we're winning because there's rook to f8 with this. There's queen takes g2, and there's bishop b5. There's a lot of attacking ideas still, but that doesn't negate the point that I think I've just played this terribly for no reason. I missed bishop to b5. I missed king takes f7. Yeah, king to e1, and suddenly they look kind of okay. Let's take on g2, target this, and I'm pretty sure there's no escape. Yeah, we take on h3. We're threatening check, which would be check number 2, and then check number 3 on h1. Oh my goodness, I'm playing this too fast. It was queen takes on the bishop b5, and I didn't see it. Okay, I need to actually take this more seriously. I'm playing this so fast for no reason. Okay, what do I do? Let me focus, right? They have 20 seconds. Surely I can do something here. Let's go rook to h1. King to d2. I'll go ahead and take. They take back, queen here. I'm still looking for bishop b5. It's kind of sad, but the 3 seconds the opponent has left is probably going to play a big part in how this finishes. Okay, so they're looking for bishop f6. I think I'm okay with that. One more check to the opponent shouldn't make a huge difference. Yeah, they do play check. Now, what do I take back with? This. So I'm still looking at f2. So if that queen ever develops, this is winning. All right, they do forfeit on time, and we do just barely escape with the victory. Solar Cheng asks, are you making a new video? I am, Solar Cheng. I hope they know that they offer a rematch, sure. Let's play e4. I hope that Solar knows that I can't actually read it during the game. Is it worth trying knight to f3? I think it is. I didn't like whatever this was. Okay, I guess that's sort of trappy. We'll go queen to e2, so we're defending that right away. Ooh, they take it anyways. Wait a minute. That looks really nice. Bishop d3. And then I just castle short. Oh, knight to f6. Okay. e5? Or just knight g5 right away. Okay, knight to e5 by the opponent. I think I've gone a little too far off script here. Let's go ahead and castle. Short castle by the opponent. Okay. Let's develop a little bit normally for a second, because we're still down a check, so we still have to be careful. But I think if we have enough firepower, we should be in a really nice position to sack like 2 or 3 times for that victory. Now, queen to h... Oh, queen to h4 doesn't work because queen to b6. Okay, king to h1. This here, check, I take, and I don't think there's any more checks. Yeah, so queen to h4, check, as expected, we take with the rook, and then we're looking for e5, and then whatever we can get here on h7. Or even like a rook sack if the queen doesn't come out first. But it seems more than likely the queen will come out, and then we play e5. Yeah, queen to b6. e5 seems slow though. What if we just take? It just seems not concrete. E5, what can black actually do about that? I don't think there's anything. I'm going e5 and looking for this. Ooh, g6. Do we just take h5? Yeah, I think I should just take there. Because the thing is, h5 seems to welcome bishop takes. Okay, we get d5, which allows mate. All right, that gives us 5 more rating points. This rating climb has been a slow climb, but a climb no less. I don't know, I'm just kind of dead set on just getting it over with. Just get on the leaderboard, you know? Get her done. Okay, I'm genuinely just not getting paired right now, so obviously I'm not gonna give up right here. I'm too close to the finish line, but I think I might just have to come back later and try to finish what I started. Oh, never mind. Just as I said that, paired with 1864 rated Luna 4422. All right, Luna, I'm gonna go with my classic queen to f3. Again, it's been working thus far. I didn't like the complications in the last game, so I'm just gonna stick with it for now. We do get knight to c6, looking to punish that right away. I'll go knight to h3, so there's still this idea. Knight to e5 is probably the most sound way to hold on to f7. Or I guess knight to f6 too, but then I don't know, e5, does e5 ever work? I'm not so sure. Let's go knight to c3. Just trying to stick with what I know. Bishop to c4, very valid way to play that. We'll go bishop e2, looking to castle. Knight to d4. Yeah, we've dealt with this now a couple of times. And I'm pretty sure queen to d3 is the only way to handle it. Check, and then I suppose they're going for f2 next. Okay, so we have a 2-piece advantage, but we're down 2 checks. One more check, and the game is over. So we have to tread very lightly here and see how on earth we're making up that deficit. Maybe like knight b5? Sort of fight fire with fire, same thing they did to us, try to do it back to them. I think if...
At Empire Mazda of Greenbrook, everybody drives. Whether you're looking to purchase a new or used Mazda, need top-notch service, or want to trade in your vehicle, Empire Mazda is the best place to go. Right now, lease a new 2025 Mazda CX-5 for just $229 a month. We offer a wide selection of vehicles, expert technicians, and top dollar for your trade-in. At Empire Mazda of Greenbrook, we have a deal for every buyer. Visit us today.
Give dinner rolls a twist with Fleischmann's yeast. It's simple. Just pour it, mix it, knead it, knot it, and bake it to enjoy delicious results every time.
We can get that on the board, we're in a really nice spot. The other thing is we're now running into players that don't fall, or rather that know how to take advantage of the fact that there's not a knight on f3. Okay, c5 seems to allow knight b5, looking for this. I mean, queen to a5 is possible. Oh, they castle, I see. Interesting. Okay, e5, looking for this. If it looks like I'm grasping for straws, that's because I am. I'm genuinely not sure how I hold on to this for much longer. I mean, even knight g4 here is probably winning. If I take... I don't even know, like queen to h4, maybe g4. I don't know. I'm holding on, but like barely. Queen goes back, threatening d2. Everything is a threat since I only have one more check to my name. So maybe like check, king takes, check. But I don't know. The queen would have to sort of stay on the board. Otherwise, I don't know how I deliver the final check. Actually, no, the king would move back to h8. That's not as bad as it looks, but it's still pretty bad. Ooh, d5. Wait a minute. Now we're talking. Looking for knight to e4, and should I take queen takes threatens this. Okay, let's go bishop d3. Yeah, knight to e4. And what on earth do I do about you? Knight d6, there's queen a5. Knight c3, there's queen h4. I mean, I guess against anything, there's really queen to h4, so I kind of have to take. But then they take back, looking for this. If I castle, there's queen g5. Maybe I take and then like push. Oh, if I push, there's this. Should have looked at that first. I don't think there's anything for me to do here. I guess castling is probably my best shot, so I'll try that. Oh, wait, I had knight to d6? Yeah, queen to h4 is winning because I can't stop both of these threats. All right, we'll resign that, but I'm not going to walk into that same thing again. So here's what I'm going to do. There's this website called Pi Chess where, surprise, surprise, I also have an account. And what I'd like to do is just study the theory here, because supposedly white starts with plus 1.7, so e4 seems to be the best move. e6 is what we normally get, so I just want to see what the engine recommends here. Yeah, the engine recommends bringing the knight out. It's possible that Mayo was playing queen to f3 because they were playing against lower rated players, but I think knight to f3 here is just way better. Okay, this recommends c5, but that's not been a concern so far. If anything, bishop c5 has been more of a concern. I just want to make sure that my theory is validated. Okay, knight c3 apparently here is best. Taking is my biggest concern. I would take back. And is that really just not concrete at all? Because you'd imagine that queen to h4 is a concern. Engine here wants knight to e7, and I'm not afraid of knight to e7. I'd be more afraid of like g5, for example. d4, now it wants h3, knight f6. The idea here is pretty clear. King to g1, and then what about like c6, looking for queen b6? Oh, you just play d4. Yeah, it's super engine-y, but I'm willing to give it a try. Okay, so that lost us 9 points of rating, which is kind of a big hit and not great, but I guess the lesson was worth it. Queen to f3 has been working thus far, but probably just because we haven't been playing super high-rated opponents. So we're gonna go with knight to f3 now and see how that sort of pans out. Okay, I didn't want to have to do this, but I think I'm just gonna broaden the opponents that I'm willing to play against because I've gotten a really good amount of practice. Most of the rating climb has now been with higher rated opponents. We've climbed about 130 points of rating, which is really nice, but this is just taking too long now. So we're gonna open this up to any player that wants to play and queue up. Now, this is a little bit of a risky move because if I lose against like a 1500, you know, easy, smooth, buttery 20 points off the rating, but I don't intend to lose any of these games. I think I've got a pretty solid foundation to work with. Perfect. 1500, totally fine with me. E6. Pawn to c3. Again, playing this is going to require a pretty severe amount of precision. I can't afford to lose any of these games, but I think the odds of me losing are just super low. So we'll go knight to c6. Pawn does come to d4. You'd imagine I can just take because of bishop b4 check. Right, so check number one. No matter what they block with, it's a fair trade and would be check number two. If they just move the king out of the way, then the king is kind of weak there anyways. So let's go. I mean, there's really no rush for me here. I can probably play whatever. Let's go c5. Probably the most concrete way to target their center without disrupting our own sort of king defense. I kind of want to create as many safe squares to give check from as possible. So right now there's only one, which is a4. After that capture, there may be more, like d4 is a safe square to give check from. I'm concerned about that because safe checks are basically free checks, right? You don't sacrifice anything. There's no positional disadvantage. It's just a free check. So we're going for a4. If we don't get a4, then we can take. d4 becomes available. d6 becomes available. Obviously, there are a bunch of sacrificing ideas too that have a follow-up check. And like I already said, I'm not going to get a lot of rating from this. Okay, this is forced winning now, but how many points did I get? 1? Yeah, this is going to be a slow climb, but a climb nonetheless. At least I'll actually get games under my belt. Okay, we get paired again, 1500 as expected. We get d4, e6 already sets up check number one. Bishop e4 tries to go for the knight. Bishop d2 does stop that idea, so we'll go back to developing the knights as before. Sure, we'll develop another knight, targets d4 now. Bishop to h3, I think this is free. Pawn to e3, I could sack for our first check. There's not really any need for that, but it's possible. I'm just gonna move my knight back to c6. There's really no need for that. Queen goes to e2, queen to e7. Ooh, long castle. A5 right away, looking for that attack. Bishop g4, I don't think creates any new threat, so a4 to follow. Bishop h5 does look for check, but that's kind of just a free piece. So, I mean, there's no need for me to allow a check. I guess g6. g6, force the bishop back. Yep, pawn to a3, tries to open up the king's position. I say tries to because b3 is very possible. We get check number one, and this is already forced winning. Check number two. And check number 3. Nice. Okay, play again. Queue up, quick. There we go. 1874, we get to face Luna again. This is very promising because this could be a buttery smooth, like solid 10 points of extra rating if I can manage to win. So far so good with the opening. Ooh, pawn to e5 right away. Knight g4 looks for this. Probably met with queen to e2. Bishop c5. I think I'm willing to lean into whatever that sort of brings. Yeah, bishop c5. I guess d4 is possible, but then I just take. Oh wait, I take, they take. I have one check, but then they just take back. I don't know, a check for a piece in that specific position doesn't seem super convincing. Let's go bishop b4 instead, with the sort of obvious threat of bishop takes. Yeah, bishop d2 defends that. I don't even know what to look for here. Queen to e7. It's almost never a bad thing to have your queen sort of mobile. Pawn to h3 sort of forces this. I'll reroute to f5. If we get g4, I don't really know what to do there. We get a4 instead. Okay, I'm willing to move back. I mean, if they want to grab extra space, that's kind of okay with me. Sure, bishop b6. Takes, we take back. Ooh, knight to e4. So they've weakened f6, which will be pesky, but d4 is also weak. Let's start with king to d8, so this isn't a threat. C3, yeah. A5 is just met with B5. Okay, I need to start thinking a little outside of the box. I'm going to start with rook to G8. So if we do get knight to F6, I at least have rook G6. Sure, rook G6, we target the knight. It's interesting, we both still have 3 checks on the king. Oh, and I've got to be somewhere after this game. Okay, again, for you guys, it'll take whatever it takes to do that swiping transition that I normally do. However long that is how long it will be for you guys. For me, after this game, I gotta go, and then I'll come back and wrap up this rating climb. Hopefully, all things equal, hopefully I can wrap up this rating climb. Okay, queen to e4. Yeah, if I take, that allows the queen to come into the game, and that's pretty pesky. What about d6? Trying to uproot that knight. I've got a very huddled up position, but I'm hoping that if I can weather the storm, there will be like a sudden counterattack that I can capitalize on, like bishop takes or something along those lines. Because you can see they're very much extending the position, right? You've got that sort of reaching feeling to the position. Knight goes to g4. E5? E5 makes sense to me. We both have 40-some seconds on the clock. Ooh, bishop b5. I think this is where we start the counterattack. So let's go f5, supported by the bishop. 30 seconds for the opponent. Now under 20. This is looking really good. 14 seconds on the clock. Under 10. Okay, having a deep think about this one. Unless they've already seen a victory and are just mogging on me, I'm pretty sure we're winning now. Okay, queen goes back. I'm going to take the knight. They do take back. I'll go ahead and take on g4 because I'm fine with taking with this discovered check. Bishop takes. We take with the pawn. Ooh, rook takes. I take, and then that's check number 1. Check number 2, and then check number 3 on the knight. Or even better with the pawn. Okay, white did resign. We did win that game and get a redemption 8 points. They offer a rematch, but I do have to go. So I will exit the game. I will literally, for you guys, again, I'll see you guys in just a second. Okay, I'm back. It's only been a few seconds for you, but it's been a couple of hours for me, but I'm ready to dive back in. There aren't that many people active at the moment, but I'm willing to play pretty much anybody. So we do get paired instantly. We'll start with e4 again. We get d6 by the opponent, which opens the floodgates for queen to f3, looking for that sack on f7. I think they might just be getting their bearings. We get knight to f6. We'll continue with our previous plan of developing the knights towards the center. Okay, we get e6 by the opponent. We'll continue with knight to h3. I'm going to be honest, at this rate, if we get 1 point and it takes the opponent 3 minutes to figure their way out through the variant, I'm going to be here all night. So I'm going to restrict the rating a little bit after this. We get knight to d7. Let's go bishop b5 with a pretty easy check. Oh, did I miss that? This was open after d6. Okay, we get knight to c6. Let's do this. Bishop c4, it's a little trappy, but we're looking for check. And after the king takes, check with the knight, and then check with the bishop. Yeah, knight back to e7, so check number 1. The recapture is forced, so bishop e6 is check number 2. Nice, check number 2. Wherever the king moves, we get check number 3 and win the game. Okay, I'm going to restrict the rating just a little bit. Let's do, I don't know, like minus 300 is probably fine. Because again, I've abandoned all morals. I'm fine with playing lower rated players, but I don't want them to be brand spanking new because that's going to cost us a lot of time while they figure out the variant. There we go, 1916. Okay, so pretty much our rating. This should be a pretty good game. We do get e4. We'll go, I guess, knight c6. Bishop e5, sure, knight f6. They do trade. I mean, I could take back with this pawn with ideas of queen takes d2. I just don't think it's super concrete. But I don't know, maybe we'll try this out for this game just to see if developing the queen towards the middle gives us like some sort of advantage. Let's go bishop b4 to uproot the knight that defends e4. Whoa, they castle short. I mean, surely that opens the floodgates for this. I don't know if that attack is super concrete, but I think it's worth a shot. Rook to e1. Let's continue. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're waiting to meet me with g3. Oh, h3. Is e5 any good? It sacrifices the pawn, but maybe there's like bishop h3. I mean, right now there's bishop d6 with at least 1 check on h2, maybe 2 depending on what they take back with. Okay, d4, they're trying to hold on to the knight in the center, which makes sense. Okay, I don't know if this is too aggressive too soon, but I'm going to sack right away and try to press for some sort of winning chance. Let's go rook to h5. Bishop to f4 reinforces e5, queen to e7. Okay, we get queen to f3. The opponent's playing this super principled. We're down to 45 seconds. g5 makes sense. Long castles make sense. I don't know. Let's start with g5. g4 just looks super interesting. Okay, g4. And knight sack. I don't know if this is too far gone, but I'm willing to give it a try. I think if I don't follow through on this attack, I'm probably toast. Ooh, bishop to f4. They totally ignore the sacrifice. h3. I'm down to 37 seconds. I need to play precisely, but I don't have a lot of time to calculate through this. That's check number 1 at least. I guess the rook has to go back to stop g8. Knight goes back. I'm fine with trading, so I can castle long. And even though that is a free check for the opponent, I kind of move out of the way and I think I survive. Okay, d5, we'll go here looking for the easy peasy g1, which promotes with another check. So that's check number 1. They could sack for check number 2, but I don't think they're in time. Yeah, they do take. Let's check number 2. And check number 3, nice. That's 7 points of rating, which is really nice. And they offer a rematch, which gives us the white pieces. Let's go queen to f3 right away. Ooh, knight to f6, knight c3. Yeah, knight d4, that's always the bothersome move. Let's go queen d3. e5, knight to f3 just gives them a free check. Okay, what about knight b5? They allow us to take, which seems like a free pawn. Yeah, not to mention queen to e5 there is threatened, so queen d7. We'll go bishop d3, holds on to e4. d5, yeah, okay, they're gonna go for the breakthrough. What about e5 here? I mean, I guess they have knight g4. Yeah, knight f3 continues to hold on, but what I'm really doing is trying to buy time so I can castle, and then I have rook to e1, so if they take my pawn, they do win back the pawn, but their king is in the middle of the board. So I have really good counterplay there. Yeah, bishop d7, I think they're looking to castle themselves. Let's go ahead and castle. I mean, if they do castle, I have queen a7. h6. Let's go e6 right away. I think any breakthrough is valid. Yeah, now rook to e1. I'm not even necessarily looking for anything specific, just for more pressure on their position. Ooh, queen to d7. I'm assuming that doesn't work because the queen just takes back. But I can just take the knight, because now the bishop is pinned to the king. Okay, long castles, so obviously now my queen is in danger. I'll move her to a4, so we buy a tempo targeting a7. Yeah, and the king shuffles over. Had they played a6, we would have had this nice little sacrifice. Okay, but we get 1 check. We could even get 2 if we want to sacrifice the queen. I just don't think we have a follow-up. So let's go knight to e5. So now we're threatening a second check, but it only loses us a knight, not a queen. So check, and then we have a check here if they take back with the pawn. Check on d6 if they take back with the queen. Nice. Check on b4 wins us that game as well. 7 more points to the rating.
It's Wonder. The best thing I discovered here in the household, we love to eat all different things. Kids wanted something else, and I wanted a burrito. So I ordered my Wonder. Lime salt is
as well. 7 more points to the rating. They do want another rematch, sure. e6, knight c6. And we get that same bishop to b5 idea, which is a little bit pesky. I think this time I'm taking back with the b pawn. Okay, pawn to e5. Sure. We'll offer a knight trade, and now we'll develop the bishop to cut off the king. Pawn to d3. Seems to invite bishop to b4. Yeah, the bishop comes out to defend. Well, let's go ahead and play h5 anyways. h4 again? Okay, and they come back with h3 once more. Let's go queen to e7. I'm going to prepare this a little bit better than last time. Okay, we take back, and then we have queen b4. Ooh, c3 boots the bishop. Okay. I mean, there's this. I don't know if that's worthwhile. Bishop to g5. Wow, that is really annoying. f6. Takes? I actually think that works. It looks really dumb because of queen to h5, but the rook is just sitting there. So I don't actually think there's any consequences. It's worth noting we have this sort of free check on h4 as well. There's just no follow-up because after the rook takes, we don't see the king anymore. Okay, bishop takes h4. They're really leaning into allowing our attack. So the bishop has to move back now. Oh, they dethroned the pawn on f6, so now they can take. Okay, it's going to be a battle of they have more material, but their king is a little weaker than ours. Okay, let's go queen to f5. d4 boots the bishop. We'll just move it back, and now we have bishop h2. And pretty much the big idea here is sack the rook. So as long as we don't trade queens, I think we're already winning. Okay, queen to d2. I'm like 99% sure I just sacrifice here and I'm winning. Because my thought process is I have check with the bishop, and I also have check with the queen. And I don't think the king can do anything about that by himself. Yeah, so queen takes back, and how do you stop queen g4? Followed by like, I don't know, queen h5 or something like that. Maybe queen back to h3. The specifics after that don't really matter. The question is, how do you stop queen g4? Knight to h2 doesn't work because that's intersected by the queen and the bishop. Oh, bishop goes back, interesting. So now check bishop g3. I would take, I think that's still winning, so check. I'm not even gonna take the free knight. Yeah, bishop takes. And weirdly enough, the king has nobody defending him, but there's no counterplay for white. Oh, that's really interesting. Queen g5 still falls victim to check here. Oh, and that wins because it's double check. That's crazy. That's got to be top 3. They offer a rematch again, sure. So far we've had a checkmate sacrificing a rook. We've had a promotion checkmate with the knight. And now we've had a double checkmate as well. Okay, can we do the same thing? Queen f3? Knight to f6. Knight c3. Knight to d4 is what they played last time. Oh, they go with e6 this time. Bishop b5? Bishop b4, sure. Let's go ahead and take and get this knight off our backs. Yeah, and they take with the b pawn. I think pretty much anything is fine here now, so I don't know, knight. Well, let's go knight to the center. d5 is so aggressive. Okay, we're castling out of the way. And if they don't castle right now, we're going to try to break open the center. Ooh, bishop b7? I mean, surely I take. and then like d4 closes the center. We've crossed 1950. There's only 49 points left to go, which sounds like a lot, but we've already made up 150, so it's not really that many. No way, queen d7? They might actually insist on castling queenside here. Okay, let's go bishop to f4. If they do castle queenside, I'm going a3. One of two things happens. They take and I go on the b file, or they move back and b4 follows. Okay, they go knight to e4 instead. I don't think that creates any new threat, so a3 follows. Bishop back, b4. Bishop back again. They could take, we take back, d4 drops. So I guess I probably should take and then like queen g3. Seems decently sound. I mean, I don't know. If they castle their king, they're kind of looking down the barrel here. But if they go long castle, then c4, and that crazy pawn storm is kind of unstoppable, so they do go short side. Let's go bishop to h6 with a pretty standard attack. Yeah, f6 stops it in its tracks. Knight to f4 threatens this, because if the queen takes back, I go g7. And if they don't take, then we just have a third attacker. Ooh, bishop d4. Takes. I just take on g7, and I don't see how you stop that attack. So let's go here. Maybe f5 is the plan, but then I take on d4. Whoa, bishop to e5. So this is check number 1. They'll probably take with the queen. I mean, they have to, actually. Knight takes. Yeah, I don't think I need to calculate any further than that. It's a free pawn and a free check. And now we have some pieces very dangerously close to the enemy king. So unless they find like a sequence of sacrifices, I think we're fine. Okay, they take on a1. Do I just ignore it and play knight f5? Bishop e5, check number 1, king here. I don't think I can. I probably should take back. Oh, and then the bishop cuts off the knight. Okay, let's go knight to h5 with this. And then at that point, I just need one more check on the king and we can win. Yeah, bishop g4. They're going to challenge us to try to go for it. Okay, what if I take first? Oh, bishop takes, so we're actually even now. Okay, this shouldn't be bad to play. Bishop c5. Opposite colored bishops are trying to get a check here, so we'll go rook to e1. So at least it's not check. Oh, rook to e1 forces a trade. They go for the pawn. I guess we'll take on a7. Target c7. This is really weird. I mean, we're kind of low on time, but as long as my king is never on a light square, we should be fine. The problem is the same thing applies for the opponent. I'm going to try to force a victory here, unless they land their bishop on g7, but then I still have h5. Oh, but now bishop g4 is, well, I can take this. This might be a draw, but I'm going to try for practical chances. The interesting thing is if they give this up, ooh, they give this up though, it's like a free check for them because my king has to land on a light square, but then it would be 2-2, so we're still even. So this, I take, and it is a free check. Oh, they don't even take it. Okay, king back over, I guess. Push. We take. I think they sort of just gave up there. They did resign. It was probably drawable. They offer another rematch, sure. We're now 1958. We're closing in. None of these games are easy, but they all have a pretty good payout. Okay, they're now playing something different, which means they might be losing their grip a little bit. So I'm going to play fast to see if they play fast as well. That could be beneficial for us. Okay, knight d5. And they castle again. They really insist on castling. Rook e1. I mean, it might work one of these times, but thus far it's been pretty nice for us. What about knight f4? Threatening to sacrifice. No, let's go h5 for now. They do take, sure. Take back. Bishop back, and I suppose d4, yeah. So we'll try for c5. Well, actually, yeah, we'll try for c5 because a5 is incoming now. Oh, a5 anyways. Does that work? Move this bishop out of the way. Oh, queen to a4. Interesting. Okay, we kind of just have to cut our losses, so bishop b6, I guess, is fine. They do take h4. Let's go for it. h3, we'll take on d4, and then maybe like rook to h5. Bishop e3, sure, g5. Knight goes back, covers g4 again. Yeah, unless there's some sort of trick here, this is probably toast. I don't know, rook to c8? I mean, knight g4 is just really pressing because of that check. Yeah, queen goes back to e2, retreat the rook. Knight to g4 is concrete on its own. They go queen g4 instead. We'll try to hold on to g5. Oh, knight f3, interesting. Okay, we'll play this out to the end, just to see if the opponent sort of messes it up, but it looks pretty unlikely. Yeah, bishop takes. Queen b4? Yeah, queen takes h4 is probably totally fine for them. Rook c2? Rook to c1, yeah, that makes sense. We'll take with the queen. The problem is they're up a piece, so any trade that isn't a check is actually totally fine for them. Ooh, rook to c1 skewers the check. Yeah, so check 1, I guess. Check 2, but it's going to be impossible to get check number 3 here. I don't know, unless they let me like promote a pawn or something. Yeah, check number 1, check number 2, fair play. They do want a rematch anyways, so we're 1948 now. I need to be careful of those sort of silly tactics because we were actually totally fine there until we gave up that bishop. Okay, knight comes out to play again. Let's go knight to f3. Let's stick with what Lichess said was better. I totally forgot about that in the time I was gone, but knight to f3 we did learn was probably better. How about this? Pawn to e6. Okay, knight c3. Bishop e4, let's boot the bishop. Do we take this way? Let's try that. I like the idea of opening up the queen. a6 will castle out of the way. And then b5 sort of rewards us just kind of moving back, but maybe bishop d3 is better. Let's go to b3 for now, just to stop d5 from ever materializing. Okay, bishop to f4 covers e5. Knight to e7. Let's go knight to e5. There might be a sacrifice here with queen to h5. And if there isn't, then we centralize the bishop. Ooh, rook to g8. So they don't take the pawn. Queen to e2 is probably fine here. Go bishop back. The next step is probably just to centralize the rooks. Or maybe we can go a4, because the king is in the middle and they can't castle kingside anymore. So they either leave the king in the middle or they castle queenside. Okay, d6 obviously invites a4 because of this diagonal. Queen comes to defend. We take anyways. It's check either way, either with the queen or with the rook. Or they can play a5 and just give it up, okay? Let's not overcomplicate. Let's just go c4. I was thinking of like b6 and then bishop a4, but then there's c6. So there's no real reason to overcomplicate this. I'm just going to push, bring my rooks to the center, and eventually the king should become exposed. Okay, pawn to h5. Looking for h4. Let's go c5. I mean, they have more to be afraid of with c6 than I do with h4. Oh, they do take. Opens up the file, hitting the queen. Oh, they get a free check there if they sacrifice, though. Actually, I guess I kind of welcome that, because I'd have a whole extra queen at that point. And 2 checks to spare, so nothing to be afraid of there. Yeah, queen shuffles out of the way instead. Let's go b6 with the idea of this check. Kind of forces c6 to be played. Yeah, c6 is on the board. Weirdly enough, bishop a4 works anyways with the sack. There's a check number 2 on d8, and I just have to figure out where the last check comes in. So they do play h4, which is reasonable. I mean, I guess just queen to f3, right? Check, check, and then eventually mate here on f7. So this is check number 1. Obviously, if they take with the king, you just go on the open file instead. Check number 2, and then check number 3, mate on f7. They do offer a rematch, so we're back over 1950, and I think we learned our lesson about what we need to play in the opening. Sure, they come with the same idea. Bishop a6 again. And this time, I'm going to hold on to this bishop. Actually, I'm going to play bishop c5, because if they do play d4, we cut them off anyways. And if they don't, then the bishop gets to look down this diagonal at no extra cost, basically. So they do castle. h4 again. This time, I'm not just giving up any free pieces, though. So instead of bishop e6, probably just bishop e7 is totally fine. Yeah, knight to e4, bishop e7. Pawn to c4, uprooting the knight. I guess knight b6. I feel like I should be doing something to stop them from castling, because once they castle, it becomes really hard to fight back. Or maybe I should just be playing e5. They would probably find that more challenging to face, because a lot of my complications revolve around the fact that the opponent has a space advantage and that pawn on e5, which in some universe even holds on to a sacrifice on f6. Okay, we get knight to g5. They could sack, we take back, there's check, there's even check with the knight. I don't know, I think I'm obligated to take at least once. They take back with the bishop, which is probably even worse. Yeah, because queen to b8? I don't know. It looks pretty bad already. Oh, they do go for the check. Rook to g8, though? I mean, it's only one check, and there aren't a lot of safe squares for them to give check from. Bishop goes back? Hold on, c5 looks at this, and then bishop b7 wins the game. Surely this is already better somehow. I mean, g3 kind of stops it. Bishop g3 does too, but it's way better than what we had before. Let's go bishop b7 anyways. Yeah, pawn to f3 stops us looking down the diagonal. Let's reroute the queen through g5, because weirdly enough, I can still castle long. Okay, the queen comes out to cover g5, queen to e7, and in some universe we castle, the other rook comes into play, and suddenly we have like counterplay of some kind. Yeah, rook to e1, we'll castle long. I mean, obviously their plan, oh, rook to e4, what? Okay, I'll definitely take the rook. Pawn takes back. Now I really just need to position myself to attack on the dark squares. Question is, how do I do that? Maybe I do sacrifice right away with rook to h8. So we're looking down this file, and the goal is just to complicate it enough for them that they sort of slip up and give us some checks. I mean, we're up a piece somehow. It doesn't feel like we're up a piece because it's stuck and does nothing on b6, but we are technically up a piece. Yeah, queen to f4? I don't know, it looks really good for us because there's check now, and then check number 2, and then we capture or sacrifice or whatever for check number 3. So king to f2? Whoa, queen to queen to f6 covers h8 though. So check number 1 is still possible, but there's no follow-up unless you want to sack the queen. Okay, queen to f8. If they take, then they kind of walk into this. Rook to f4. Oh, queen to g8 was like a tiny bit more precise because it makes queen to h7 available. But now they have rook to h4. We'll see if they see that idea. They have 35 seconds to find it, so... Ooh, king to f2. Can we sort of ignore what's going on? I mean, I need to make something of this extra piece or else it's purely decorative, and they have 9 seconds to find counterplay. Obviously, they can get a check here, but then I only have 1 check left and they have no pieces to play with. They have 5 seconds to calculate 2, so we already get 1 check. 2 checks, and 3 checks. Nice. Yeah, we just got them in time trouble, so kind of a dirty win, but somehow they want a rematch anyways. Let's go pawn to e4, and we're going to stick with this knight to f3 line. I really liked it. Yeah, knight to f3. Bishop to b4, sure. Let's go a3, boot the bishop right away. This time I'm going to take with the d pawn. Opens up my bishop, opens up my queen, just looks really nice. Okay, they push me back. I'm gonna go ahead and take. They have to take with this pawn. Now, bishop g5 threatens e5, winning the knight. Yeah, so h6 is forced to boot the bishop. Oh, I drop e4 as well, but I do still get to castle first. So maybe there's compensation there somehow. Okay, rook to b8, I'm definitely castling. Ooh, rook takes b2. They're kind of pawn hungry. Okay, is that justified in this position? It might be, but I'm gonna fight to argue that it's not. Let's go knight to e5 with this idea. Queen to e7 stops it in its tracks. Knight to c4 leads to knight d6. Takes, bishop takes, queen goes back. e5. I mean, it looks cool. I just don't know that it leads to anything. Let's go king to h1 looking for f4. It's probably the slowest way to play this, but I think it's also the most sound. Okay, we do get knight takes e4 now. Threatens the bishop, threatens the pawn. Threatens a lot of things here, actually. Queen to f3, knight d2. One check, queen takes. Loses the knight for no reason. Let's go queen d3 instead. If they trade, we take with the f pawn, and it opens up a file. Oh, it's also a check. I didn't even think about that. But they have 2 more checks to go, and I think we're in a much more active position than they are. So we've sort of banished the king to the center of the board, and I'm totally fine with just forcing him to hang out there for a bit. Okay, short castles is already very suspicious. Knight to g6 targets these 2 pieces. Queen to d6 allows me to take and give a check. And then the goal would be to double up the rooks and somehow like sacrifice for the last 2. Assuming they move to h7, anything else, I'm going to sack the knight. Yeah, we'll sack the knight, take with the rook, and I think it's not possible to avoid the last check. I mean, they can sack for 1 more like spite check, but there's no follow-up. Yeah, king goes back, rook to f6, and then rook g6 wins the game. Nice. All right, we'll see if they still want a rematch. Okay, I think they might take us to 2000 by themselves. Let's go e5. Try that on for size. Knight c6. Oh, bishop c4 is the idea they play into. Yeah, which is actually really problematic. So queen d7 I think is kind of forced. We're 1 tempo behind. Yeah, knight d5, knight f6 tries to hold on. Oh, they take anyways. I have a bad feeling we're going to learn a new line the hard way. Okay, bishop c5. This might still be okay. They castle, sure. What's the idea here? Like knight g5, queen g6? This seems okay. We'll play d6. Oh, bishop e3. This is definitely okay. I mean, if we take, obviously we open up the file for them. So I'm not going to do that. We'll play bishop b6. We do get knight g5. Again, queen g6 I think looks totally sound. Not to mention now I'm somehow threatening to take and then take the knight. Knight d5? Oh, threatens this check. So what if I take and then take the bishop? No, that allows the queen to come out. Or rather, the rook to come out, sorry. Well, but then I'm threatening queen to e3. The other option is just knight d4, which seems a lot more sound. Yeah, let's do that. Knight to d4 just seems cleaner. Okay, pawn to c3, we could just play h6. If they take, we take, and we have a really nice attack on the h file. So let's do that. If they move out of the way, obviously there's like knight to f3 ideas. Or maybe just knight to f5. Actually, if they move back, there's bishop h3. We only have 2 more checks. They have all 3 still. So I'm the one that has to be playing a little more carefully, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't play into an attack if it becomes available like it is. Oh, they do take. Okay, we'll take back. Oh, queen to a4 wins the game because I have nowhere that I can move that stops the next check. Yeah, well played to the opponent. All right, we'll line up for 1 more. Oh, they do offer a rematch, sure. We'll line up for 1 more and I'll finish the rest in another sitting. So we'll play e4. Knight to f3 has worked out so far so good. Knight c3 and a3. And then in the past we've taken with this pawn. Oh, they don't take this time. Interesting, they are learning. Okay, bishop b5, same thing back to them. Knight to f6, and I think I do castle here. Just kind of looking for d4, d5. Okay, I am going to take because I'm already castled, so an attack in the center is actually not a bad thing for me. Let's go d4. I'm kind of tempting them to take, and then take on e4 and see if I can get...
Does Idol Cult really exist? Here's the answer. This is Idol Cult. Let's get our first member from the people and convert him. We have our first member. Let's build the prayer area. We get energy from our prayers to convert more people.
Them to take and then take on e4 and see if I can get an attack in the center going. So rook to e1 allows knight takes e3, but I'm positioning myself for a couple of free checks here. We'll see if they take note of that. Okay, they do take. Queen to d3 now targets the knight again, and I can't imagine knight g5 isn't just crushing here, right? Knight g5 with the f7 sack. They can't castle because queen h7. We get queen to f6. We'll go bishop d2. h6 forces us to make a decision about this knight. I guess knight to e4. I mean, I would sack and then like queen g6, but I can't guarantee a 3rd check, so it's not worth it. Yeah, queen goes back. Now I can guarantee 1 check. I'd like to have all 3 sort of back to back to back, but I might just have to collect them 1 at a time. Let's see, I don't know. We'll start with c4, at least get the knight out of the center. Oh, and then knight to f6 gives me a check with a trade, so knight b6 is forced. That's a good start. We'll go d5, try to break open the center next. They do take. Let's recapture. Knight will probably take, yeah. And then I don't know, like bishop b4. I'm giving them more free pawns, but now there's like actual checks. So pawn takes, queen check. If the queen takes, I have rook e6. If the king takes, I have anything on d1. So I think this works. Check number 1. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you don't actually need to calculate when you start playing moves like this. You just have to know that having more pieces attacking just increases the odds of something like that appearing on the board. I'm pretty sure this is already inescapable. Yeah, king shuffles over, but now check, and then the knight checks on either of these squares to win the game. Yeah, check on h7, wins us the game. We're rated 1960. I would keep playing, but I'm pooped. I'll wake up early tomorrow to finish this episode. Okay, it's pretty early in the morning for me, but we're diving right back into 3 check. There seem to be 15 players active, and I'm kind of hoping that's because I just posted a minute ago, but there also seem to be more players active in general, so let's go ahead and just dive in. I'm keeping the restriction to -200, so I should still get paired with 1,700 players and 1,700 rated players and upward. We've got about 80 points, I want to say, left to go, unless the leaderboard has changed, which is totally possible, but we've got about 80 points left to go until we finish up this speedrun rating climb sort of thing. Okay, maybe I should broaden this to -300 and try that again. Okay, there we go. Now we've gotten paired with a 1,700 rated player. Perfect. Yeah, just outside of that 200 rating range, so it makes sense that we weren't getting paired earlier. Go e6, but there's still a decent amount of rating to be collected by these players that are more than 1,700 rated. Sure, knight c3, knight f6. A lot of the same stuff that we saw yesterday. Knight h3 is new, but it's kind of achieving the same thing that knight f3 would, just in a more sort of roundabout way. They do take. We'll take back with the d pawn to open up the queen. Oh, and they castle. So kind of walking into this bishop d6 idea. f6, or rather f4, goes to defend. Okay, so what's wrong with e5 and looking for something like this? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. Ooh, d4, sort of like a counterattack. I'm gonna just take on d4 and then take on h3 next. I mean, there are no checks on the board and there are no safe checks either. Yeah, so pawn takes back, and you'd imagine that I'm sort of just getting ready to hunt for free checks now. The question is, how exactly do I go about that? Because I'm kind of facing knight e4 right now, so I'm going to play queen e7. Knight e4 because this is check, and if I take... Oh, they play knight e4 anyways. I do think that's just free. Actually, I can take it with the knight, and it doesn't offer them any free checks. If they do take on g7, I'm just castling long. They do have queen g4, which is 1 free check. I move king to b8, and that's pretty much the end of whatever happens there. So that is 1 free check for them, but I have the open G file. I have a centralized knight. I have an active queen. I can't say much about this bishop. It's kind of just staring at f4, but generally speaking, the position is actually kind of nice here. So we'll move the king out of the way. And I think the best they can do now is sack the queen as well, but there's no follow-up to that. I just take with the rook, and I'm pretty tight and cozy over here on b8. Yeah, they move the king over. We'll play rook to g8. There is knight to f2 with 1 free check. There was queen to e4, but with queen to f3, there no longer is. Oh, but we have check with this rook, and then slide over. Unless they take with the queen, in which case we have queen to e4, and then rook g1 does win the game. Or actually, any queen move would also win the game. Nice. All right, that's 1 game under the belt. That's 3 points to the rating. Okay, we get paired again for game number 2. Black pieces this time, but it doesn't really matter. We play the same system anyways. Okay, check number 1, and I'm definitely sacrificing for check number 2. And then queen to h4. How do you stop this and this at the same time? That should already be winning now for us. Nice, that was pretty quick and easy. We get the resignation. We'll go ahead and queue up again. And for my next trick, I'll play with the white pieces. Pawn to e4. We get the same opponent, so there's still a decent amount of rating to be sort of earned here. Knight c3, defends e4. And bishop to e7. Okay, let's go bishop to d3 with the idea of e5, and then the sacrifice gets the queen out. Nice. The opponent sort of walks straight into it. And I think it does work. e5 just looks really good there. We have check number 1. We'll see if they even take the bishop, because they really could just ignore it and move to h8. But then I move the bishop back, and the queen slides in anyways. We have check number 2, and then I'm taking the knight, and I don't know how you stop the queen from getting check number 3. There's a counter sacrifice here on d2, but I just take back, and there's no actual follow-up there. I'll admit, when you know you're playing the right setup, it's a lot more comforting to go for attacks. I don't know if comforting is the right word there. It feels a lot safer to go for attacks, because you know you're doing it from a position of strength, almost guaranteed. Your attack might not even be that concrete, but the position you're coming from is. All right, we get the... Oh, I think we played this opponent yesterday. We get the black pieces for this one. e3, e6. Knight c3, knight f6, and it seems like this opponent definitely knows what they're doing. Ah, yes, knight to b5. Is this the opponent that was doing the knight to b5, knight c7 business? I think they were. I'm going to play a6 and press the issue, find out if they still want to sack. I assume they do, because c3 shows absolutely no signs of remorse or intention to return to c3. Okay, we get bishop d3 on the board. Let's go d5, and then I guess eventually knight e5. e5 is the idea, but they're going to come in with d4 now. Oh, g3 instead. Okay, knight e5 now. Oh, there's a check here. Okay, and then I move king to f8. Ooh, I only have one check left, but they did not even see that. So we're going bishop d7 and thanking our lucky stars that they did not see that check. Okay, we get knight to g5. I don't think there's anything actually... Oh, there is, because they take, I take back, and there's two different checks between the king, or rather the queen and the bishop. Okay, I don't really have a choice but to play g6. So we're going g6, and then maybe like knight g4, and then trying to draw out their king. It'd be really nice if they go h4, so g3 is weak, and I can come in with a sacrifice of some kind. Okay, d4 kind of encourages knight to g4, so we will definitely play that, kind of stalking f2 here. Queen goes to f3. Oh, and then they have h6, sack, king takes, and there's two different sacrifices here that would lead to mate. It's a very interesting concept. I'll go rook to f8 so I can recapture with the rook, and I'm looking at ideas of like bishop to b4 here, because there's like the idea of sacrificing for check, and the bishop is doing diddly squat over here looking at g3. I mean, there's also, I don't know if knight t4 is worth anything. Oh, that we get e4 by the opponent. I'm looking for a very aggressive break here in the center. I guess I'll take. Kind of a no-brainer. Bishop takes. I still think I can just take back. I'm not afraid of this because I would still have a check left over. Yeah, they take back with the knight. Oh, I think they're just looking for knight to f6. And yeah, the knight looks at d6 as well. Okay, if I allow this, it would leave me with one single check. I would be up a piece. Their king would still be in the center. Unfortunately, I don't think I have much of a choice here. So I'm going to go f5, root this knight, and pre-move the recapture on d6. Oh, queen to b7 here I think is crushing. We get bishop to g5. Yeah, the problem is just about anything here is crushing because there's just too much space around my king. Okay, what about queen to d5? I mean, they're still winning because they can trade queens and then castle, and I can't really do anything about the rooks coming into sacrifice. We'll see if they... I assume they're going to see that idea. It's the pretty natural way to continue here. Yeah, they do castle. Let's go king to f7. I can position their rook here because this is immediately winning. King goes back, rook to e7, and I'm pretty sure there's nothing I can do about that. Oh, rook to f1. If they're going to allow me even a second of counterplay, I'm going to take it. The only way they can line up again is on e1, which would give me check. So let's go back to f6 looking for e4 or potentially a trade. I have 21 seconds left on the clock. With any luck, they play to try to flag me. That would be the best case scenario because I'm not going to get flagged. We'll go rook to c8 looking for knight to e4 if they do play rook to e1. Ooh, okay, we'll play f4 looking for bishop f5. Bishop f6 allows bishop to f5, so we have one check on the opponent. King shuffles over. I guess I should take a moment to take back. I still only have one check. We get g4. That was bishop c2. Trying to... Oh, g5 wins the game. Good find by the opponent. Okay, we lose 12 points of rating, but we'll queue back up nice and quick. Okay, I'm getting a little dizzy from commentating, so I think I might just